We're live. We're live and in effect with 2 viewers already. What is up, everybody? Hopefully this stream is set to not be members only. Let me double check, and we should be good to go. Make sure, but I don't have a whole lot. Well, I have a lot to talk about as usual. Let me take a quick turn that off, and yeah, we should be good to go on the stream settings. What's up, Tim C? How you doing? You answered my question right there. Just want to make sure I got the YouTube settings right. Let's see. Let me fiddle with my windows here so I can see what I'm doing and kind of have the things I want to talk about in front of me. Let's see. So on the YouTube channel, hey, what's up, Tom and Jackie McGuinn and Blue Sky? Everybody's joining the house. We got 5 already. Boom. So you might notice on the YouTube channel page, I'm going to share my screen because why not? And you might notice on the YouTube channel page, of course, I have to pull that up. I put up a video yesterday, and it's set to be members only. And it's just a tour of my place. I just felt like I finished what I'm going to call phase 2 of my new place. I guess it's not really that new anymore. I've been living here since June 1st. But I spent the last 2 weeks after I got a car ripping the place apart and putting it back together and keeping it organized. And I posted a video because a lot of you guys were asking for that. And I took you on a tour. But I set it to members only for the first 48 hours that it's up. If I could control the ads based on your membership to the channel, I would just post the video to everybody at once and not do the early release thing. But YouTube only allows me to turn a video from members only to public or back and forth, and to turn monetization on and off, but totally separate from each other. And they won't let me split that setting across both audiences. So what I would like to do is make it so if you're a member and I post a regular video, you don't see the ads. But if you're not a channel member, you watch the ads. I'm not turning on the ads for the live stream, but we did talk about that I got invited to this YouTube membership boot camp. And I've been in a few Zoom meetings with different people from YouTube. And a lot of people have stated that they want that same feature during the conference calls, the ability to enable monetization and ads if you're not a channel member, but turn the ads off for members. And that way you can release the video once and for all. But for me to do it the way I'm doing it, where you don't see the ads if you're a member, and you see the ads if you're not, the only thing I can do is make an early release. Keep the ads turned off. I can't even use the scheduling feature to turn the video to public because I can't make it go public and turn the advertisements on automatically. I can only do one or the other. So I have to manually go in there tomorrow. It's not a big deal. It takes 10, 20 seconds to do. But I have to manually go in there, turn the ads on, and set the video to public so that the members can watch it for 48 hours after posting without ads. So that's one thing. And there was another thing that people were asking for, and that was less obtrusive ads during live streams. And what I mean by that is that the ability to have some sort of advertising that they do that doesn't interrupt the live stream and doesn't completely Because right now, if I were to turn ads on for a live stream, an ad would show up in front of you, and then you'd have to wait until you can hit the skip button or whatever. Or maybe you're not near your device and you have to listen to the whole thing play through. And then when you come back to the stream, it's going to have skipped whatever happened during the live, during the live stream while the ad was on. At least when you watch a football game or whatever, you watch a live sporting event on TV, they don't throw an ad up right at the second where they're kicking the extra point that will make or break and decide whether they win the Super Bowl or go home empty-handed. Could you imagine watching the Super Bowl and the very last play of the game, all of a sudden an advertisement pops up, and then you come back to the Super Bowl and they're running across the field and celebrating, and you're like, what the hell just happened? And they cut off the play that won the game. They would get completely bamboozled for that by I think that would trigger a second American Revolution right there, because Americans only care about beer and football, so they would care a lot more about that than Donald Trump getting shot. So anyway, I am going to start bicycling to the bakery pretty soon again for fun and fitness, but probably on Saturdays, but not this weekend. There's too much going on Sunday. I've got to go into the bakery for a couple hours on Sunday. We're having this meeting. I have some ideas of what it could be about or what might go down. I have, some thoughts, but I'm not going to know anything until then. And I just don't want to be tired on Sunday. But perhaps I can gather what I need and do it the following weekend. And the reason I'm mentioning it now is because I will start documenting the bicycling and the commuting. And I'm going to try to do some nice edited videos, as I've been saying for a while that I'm going to do. But it won't be as obtrusive. And now that I can do it by choice, I can kind of take more time to prepare things and think it through, and I won't have to do it out of necessity. Trying to film those bicycle rides while I was doing it out of necessity and exhausted all the time, it would have made me even more exhausted than I already was. So to make it more efficient for me now that I can drive, I'm going to reduce the backpack. I'm going to take out the clothing aspect and some of the other things. I'm going to take a few days worth of clothing, hide it in my locker at the bakery. I found a low-cut pair of steel-toed work shoes, black, with non-slip sole on Amazon Vine. And and they should be here within a week or two. I should be able to replace the boots that I normally keep there with shoes that'll fit in a locker better, and bring my black steel-toed boots home. And I plan on putting enough clothes and some of the other things in there that I would normally carry back and forth, but just kind of keep a stash there so I don't have to carry stuff in a backpack anymore. I might get it down to where I can just keep a basic toolkit in a bag about that big, and a bag about maybe this big under my seat, or maybe a little bit larger bag, and just only carry the tools and the flat tire repair kit and just the basic stuff, so that I can deal with most problems on the way to and from, but I don't have this big backpack that I'm lugging back and forth. That would really make the bicycle rides a lot more enjoyable, going to and from that place without having to carry all that extra stuff. But it's an evolution. I will still document what I was doing before to get back and forth, and how I was commuting and why I was using a backpack versus bags and stashes on the bicycle itself. I had a reason for it. But whatever I can do to have my stuff at the bakery, and then on the days that I drive, I'll just grab a bag of dirty clothes, bring them home, replace it with stuff so that I always have fresh stuff there, and just kind of do that from now on. And that way I don't have to carry clothing back and forth other than the clothes that I wear. But I can take changes of synthetic shirts. I can take extra bike shorts. I can do things to make it work better for me and to be more comfortable, more enjoyable, and having to carry. I could probably reduce the amount of stuff I take by 10 to 12 pounds and keep it off my back and have my body free while I ride my bike. That would be a game changer. And I would actually enjoy the bicycling a lot more, even, without than I already did, without having to carry all that stuff all the time. But I was, like I was talking to you a few minutes ago, YouTube invited me. I don't know why, because I'm shadow banned. I've been shadow banned since last year. I gained 1,200 followers in a span of 60 days on the channel. And for the last 15 months, I have not gained one single subscriber, not one new subscriber at all. A slowdown would be understandable, where you go from getting 1,200 subscribers in 60 days to maybe a couple of hundred over the course of 6 months. That would be a slowdown. But to go from getting 1,200 subscribers in 60 days to 0 subscribers, not even one, in a span of 15 months. 15 months, I have not gained one, not even one. And yeah, I say things that, not everybody's going to agree with. And, I've got trolls up my ass on the channel and all these other things. But to not get one, not even one, the crappiest channel on YouTube will get maybe 5 subscribers in the span of a year and a half, for crying out loud. And I got 0. So they're definitely putting the kibosh on my channel. Yet, on the flip side, they gave me a bonus, which I haven't received yet, mind you. But I got a bonus for turning on the channel memberships, and I'm waiting for that to drop into my AdSense account. Based on my last check of AdSense, I won't get that money until probably it'll show up in AdSense sometime in November, probably within the first 12 days of November. And then I'll get paid for it sometime around the 21st of November. So I did get an email confirmation of how much they're going to drop, but Google does not give a shit about speedy payments. They are probably one of the slowest ways to get paid for doing online, being an influencer or whatever that. I'm not an influencer. Don't call me that, but I don't want to be an influencer. I hate that term, but I'm doing videos. I'm documenting some stuff. If I want to get paid for it, YouTube's the slowest way to do it. If you can build up a rhythm where you get regular income every month, then you can kind of count on your payment coming every month. But in my case, I've turned back the daily video posts that I was running ads on in favor of doing these live streams with no ads. And it's killing I'm not going to get a payout every month until I get more subscribers or something like that. So it is what it is. I never signed up to do this for money, but YouTube definitely does not want to help me out yet. They're inviting me to this invite-only membership boot camp with the $600 and something bonus that they're giving me, and they're giving me all kinds of swag. I'm getting a clapboard, one of those. I had a really nice clapboard back before I was arrested, a really nice one, but I'm getting a YouTube clapboard as part of my swag, and I'm getting a bunch of other swag for being in this boot camp. And I have a person, an actual human being, to talk to at YouTube if I'm having problems or whatever. So I reached out to her yesterday after our meeting yesterday and sent her an email. And I was very professional about it. In fact, I had AI help me write it so that I wouldn't be obnoxious or anything. And I was just, I told her, I said, look, my channel is shadow banned. Here's all the evidence that proves my channel is shadow banned. Number one, going from having 1,200 subscribers show up in 60 days to zero subscribers in 15 months. I even asked her, I said, I don't even understand why you guys invited me to be in this exclusive invite-only boot camp and giving me bonuses when you obviously don't want me to succeed and you want me to keep my mouth shut. So I don't know. Maybe the only thing that could happen, if I disappear from YouTube, the only thing I'm wondering is, by reaching out to human beings at YouTube about this situation, will some human being go and watch my channel and see a couple of videos and say, you know what? Cut. Get him out of here. Kick him out. He's done. Get rid of him. Maybe they'll see something that the AI bot didn't notice, and maybe they'll shut me down completely because I reached out to complain about being shadow banned. I don't know. But I did what I did. I'll let you know if something comes out of it. I haven't heard back as of yet, and I can check. I can sit here and check right now. You know, give the person, I got to give this woman at least a couple of days before I reach out again. Yeah, I don't see a reply from her. So we'll see what happens. Maybe she'll look into it. Maybe she won't. I will be on a conference call with the boot camp tomorrow at some point, I think in the morning, so I can reach out and I can reach out to her and see what's up. Say, hey, did you get my email? Just wondering why I'm shadow banned. And if I can do something about it, whatever. You know, push the buttons a little bit, see what I can do. I mean, it would be kind of funny if all of a sudden she, you know, what if somebody comes back to me and says, oh yeah, we flipped a switch and turned you back on, so you should get some algorithm play once again. We'll see if that video I posted of the house tour does anything. But anyway, hey, what's up, JS? Another member in the house. If you see the little stars next to the members, that means that they're a channel member. I'll be customizing those at some point when I have time. Haven't had time yet. But anyway, I do have a screen share for you all. And that you're going to love this. Some of you are going to get really mad. I'm just going to pop this up. A lot of people get really angry when I talk about it. And angry to the point where I've had people scream and yell at me and like pick up objects and throw them at me, like pop cans and stuff like that. We'll be sitting at a campsite fire, and I'll bring this topic up, and I'll have people get so mad they throw something at me. And anyway, I've been talking about this on the channel forever, and it looks like I'm not the only one saying it. And I saw this news article, felt like I had to share it. When do we truly own anything? The property tax scheme that keeps us paying forever. Authored by Molly Engelhart via the Epoch Times. It says, Texas is famous for its wide open land, its independence. I don't know about that. I'm not impressed. And its promise of freedom, once again. Not very impressed with what I see in Texas. I don't think it is a free state. I've seen a lot freer states than Texas. I think Texas is a redneck, hillbilly, Republican police state, whereas New York is a blue, liberal, communist police state. But they're both a police state. Yet the truth is that Texans pay some of the highest property taxes in the country. And that is true. We don't have income tax here. So that is a good thing. But they get you on the flip side with high property taxes that are way more than what you'd see in other states. The state itself doesn't collect property tax, but the local governments make up for it many times over. So it does depend on where you live. But even with agricultural and wildlife exemptions, the real burden still falls on commercial buildings, apartment complexes, and single-family homes, the places where most people live and work. And it says, every year I write a check for $24,000 in property taxes. Now, I'm going to pause there for a second. I'm like, hold on a second. So whoever wrote this article is fucking rich, right? I mean, I'm gonna drop the F-bomb on that. If you're paying $24,000 a year in property tax, what the fuck kind of house do you live in? And how much land do you own? Because I know people who aren't even paying that much for a mortgage. So, boo, I mean, it's going to be like, I'm a little bit like, boo-hoo, who cares? But $24,000 a year in property taxes is $2,000 a month in taxes. That's a rent payment to the government. You're paying, you don't own, if you pay a property tax for your home, I hate to tell you this, I've said it over and over again, you do not own your home. Get it out of your head. Don't quit calling yourself a homeowner. You're a home renter. How do I know this? Because I rent from a landlord. If I don't pay my rent bill, the landlord can show up and kick me out of my house and throw me out in the street. If you don't pay your rent bill to the government when you're a quote unquote home owner and you're pretending to own your home, guess what? If you don't pay that rent bill, they're going to show up with the sheriff. They're going to send you packing and send you out into the street, and they're going to take your home away from you. So it never was yours to begin with, because you don't own something. You never own something if you have to keep paying somebody to keep it. That's called rent, period. I don't care. Argue with me all you want. The only argument people ever come up with when I point this out is, well, it's better to rent to own a house than it is to pay rent to a landlord. And I'm not arguing the fact that buying a house with a mortgage and paying your property taxes, you're going to have a nicer home probably for the money you spend. But you don't own that shit. You don't own it. Not only do you pay rent to keep it, and if you don't pay that rent payment, it's gone. They're coming to take it from you. Number two, anytime you want to do something to your home, you got to get permission from somebody. Typically the government, the homeowners association, who knows what. You can't just go and build something without a permit. A permit is nothing but a permission slip. So it's like if I want to paint the walls in my abode here, I have to get permission from the landlord in order to do that. Just about anything you want to do to the home you supposedly own, keep telling yourself that you got to go down and get permission from the government and make sure that your government rent payment is up to date. So, it says here in Texas, over half of that property rent goes towards public education, sometimes up to 70% in some counties. The irony is none of that goes toward educating my own children. So I don't know, where's the other half go? Number one. And number two, where does the other half go? It doesn't say. Once again, this author, I homeschool my kids. On our farm, we built a small barn with electricity, air conditioning, and a nearby restroom. Okay, boo-hoo, you're rich. You're a rich bastard. You're a rich housewife whose husband makes a lot of money. Because if you're homeschooling your kids on your farm, you built a small barn to use as a home school with electricity, air conditioning, and a nearby restroom. Okay, so you're loaded. You're paying $24,000 a year in rent to the government. But anyway, I'm not saying it's right, or I'm saying it's wrong for all of us. She's saying, I homeschool my kids. On our farm, we built a small barn, blah, blah, blah. My husband and I teach our children farming, entrepreneurship, and money management. We hire a teacher. Wow, we hire a teacher 3 days a week for reading, writing, and math, and a tutor for additional help with reading. They got nothing but money, so they can afford it. We pay entirely out of pocket for all of it, yet each year I'm forced to pay tens of thousands of dollars to fund a system I fundamentally disagree with. I don't believe the public school system nurtures creativity, curiosity, or courage. It creates workers, not thinkers. It rewards compliance, not conviction. Duh. The Rockefeller family did not want people who think for themselves, who are creative, courageous, and curious. They want obedient workers who are just smart enough to push the buttons, but stupid enough to not know how much they're getting fucked over every day. That's what they want. That's what the school system, that's who created the school system in the first place. The oligarchs that own this country. They're not going to teach you how to take over their position in society. They're going to teach you how to be subservient to them. But anyway, this author, once again, I often joke that I don't co-parent with the government, but in truth, the property tax system makes me do exactly that. It forces me to contribute to a system that, in my view, often indoctrinates our children rather than inspiring them. It feeds them food I consider unhealthy and trains them to fit in rather to think for themselves. You just said that, but say it again. Last year alone, my property bill increased by $11,000. I'm like, wait, okay. Did your bill go from $24,000 a year to $35,000 a year, or was it $13,000 a year the year before, and now you pay $24,000? Either way, like what kind of property do you live on and they're not even done paying off their mortgage. Yet every year I have to pay again just for the right to keep what I already own. Even if I pay off my mortgage, we still have to pay property taxes. So not only does she not own her home, the bank owns it, and she has to pay the rent payment that the bank owes the government. And if the bank repossesses the house, does the bank still have to pay the property tax on the property, or do you only pay property tax? Like, do the banks, when they repossess a house and the bank becomes the owner of the property, do they have to continue paying a property tax, or did the bankers find a way to get out of that shit? I'm going to assume they found a way out of it. But the whole point of this woman's article is that means I never truly own my home. The government can raise taxes whenever it wants, and if I can't pay, they can take the property away. How is that ownership, and how is that freedom? It's not. That's how. If they control your property tax, if they make you pay a tax, a rent payment to live in your property, and they take your income on top of that, you're basically a slave. Look at your fucking paycheck. They took a third of your paycheck right off the rip before you even got it in your hand. And now you got to pay rent to the government to keep the house that you're living in. By the time you're all said and done, they say that Americans work until the middle to the end of June to pay the government every year. And the rest of the year, you get to keep the money that you make for everything in your life. But you're working more than half of the year just to pay the government what you owe them. There are other ways that the government could our founding fathers, George Washington and the gang, shot the British, killed them, sent them home, either in body bags or home on a boat to get out of here over less egregious wrongdoings against them and those people than our own government is doing to us now. They revolted over a tax on tea. But now we live in this land of the free where we work until fucking July. We work until the 4th of July, the day that we celebrate killing the British to get them out of this country. That's what the 4th of July is. We killed the oppressors and kicked them out of our country so that we could be free, free to work until the 4th of July to give all the money that you made between January 1st and the 4th of July, Independence Day, to the government, and then you get to work for the rest of the year to pay your bills and do whatever the fuck you can do. I mean, that's what it is. That's what it is. But, you know, I could go to prison for saying what I just said. I'm not advocating anything. But just sharing some well-known facts could be enough. Who knows? Maybe tonight the FBI will have a harder time driving a tank into this house because it's on stilts, sort of. But they probably could knock it down with it. They could drive a tank into it and knock it down if they wanted to. But whatever, these fucking scumbags. They could fund the schools, the roads, the government, everything that they do. Has anybody even noticed that the government shut down right now? My life isn't any different. Is any of your lives any different since the government was shut down? Has anything in your life changed over the last couple of weeks? As far as I'm concerned, shut the fucking thing down for good. Send them home and don't open it back up. We'll be fine. We'll be better off that way. Just go home, assholes. Fuck off. Shut it down. Don't open it back up. Disband it. Let the states go back to doing what they want to do. We'll be good to go. Maybe Texas will be a good place to live if that were to happen. I don't know. But either way, I don't notice. There's no difference in my life that since the government is shut down. Shut it down. Shut it down for 10 fucking years and see how much we suffer because of it. A bunch of crooks aren't getting the people that got the $20 million to study the mating habits of transgender squirrels in Siberia didn't get their check this week. But the rest of us are fine. The people who got jobs and the people who do shit with their lives, we're good. We're good. We're not affected by this at all. It's really just affecting a bunch of crooks and criminals. They don't have to tax your income and they don't have to tax your property at all to get the money that they need to run things in this country. It could be tariffs and sales tax, period. Maybe the sales tax would be more than the 6 to 8% that you pay in most places today. But you would choose whether to pay that sales tax or not when you go buy something. You want to buy a new TV? Okay, if a TV that costs $200 now costs $300 because you pay $100 tax, well, did you need to buy the TV? Could you go on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and get a used TV and not pay the tax? They could do it that way. And then you choose. If you can't afford something, you don't need to go get it. But you can that would give you more money in your pocket so that you could afford the things that you need. And yeah, some things things that you need out of necessity, like food, clothing, and the basics. A lot of states that have sales tax don't tax certain things. Like Pennsylvania doesn't have a tax on clothes. Pennsylvania doesn't tax groceries. They don't tax groceries here in Texas either, as long as it's like food and stuff. JS says Congress used to meet 3 months out of the year and then they go home to their real jobs, ranch owners, cattle herders, etc. Government was part-time in the old days and it wasn't a career. Yeah, but now they work 3 months out of the year and make $200,000 a year. And I would love to have a job where I basically do nothing but act like a douchebag for 3 months out of the year, talk on TV and talk on a microphone here and there, and then take the rest of the year off and make $200,000 large. And 4 years after I start the job, even if I go into that place broke, I'm going to have $30 million to $100 million in my bank account on the day that I lose my first election. All these fucking Republican or Democrat. I was just reading something about that Marjorie Taylor Greene bitch, that Republican twat. She's worth tens and tens of millions of dollars now, and she's a congresswoman. She wasn't worth that much when she got elected to Congress. Now she's making millions, tens of millions of dollars. Where the fuck does that money come from, you think? their side job of being a ranch owner, a cattle herder, the jobs that the Congress people go home to, them hard working son of bitches. No, it's bribes, kickbacks, favors, the famous book deal. They gave Kamala Harris a fucking book deal when she lost the election. That bitch couldn't even write a children's book, for crying out loud. She's so fucking dumb, and they gave her a book deal. And when these politicians, these dirty crooks, they get their book deal, they don't write the book. They call what's called a ghostwriter write the book for them. They might meet with the ghostwriter a couple times and like, yeah, okay, take this out, put this in. I didn't say that. Fix this, fix that. Go back to work. The ghostwriter finishes the book. They take a picture of the douchebag politician. They put it on a cover, send it to Barnes and Noble. Then the publisher buys all the copies of the book so that they can get on the New York Times bestseller list, because that's how that scam works. Politician gets $50 million for an advance on a book that doesn't even sell 2,000 copies. They don't have to pay back that advance. And then 3 months after the book is released, you go to Goodwill, you're shopping at the thrift store, and you see 55 copies of Barack Obama's shitty book on the bookshelf because Barnes and Noble couldn't sell it and they need shelf space for the books that sell. And now all the thrift stores are overloaded with Hillary Clinton books and Barack Obama garbage books and Kamala Harris's book. And none of these people wrote those fucking books themselves, but they got buku money, and it's a bribe. It's a legal way to take a bribe. You vote for this bill the way we want you to, and we'll give you that book deal. You scratch my ass, I scratch your back. We're good to go. That's how they can accept a bribe for millions of dollars, but keep it legal. That's what the book deal is. When a politician gets who the fuck's reading a book that any of these people write? Nobody's reading it. The only reason a human being would even buy the thing is like Hillary Clinton comes to town and she's signing books at a bookshop, and they got a line of blue-haired retards waiting in line to meet her and shake her hand and get an autograph. In order to get her autograph and get in the line, you have to buy the book. So these blue-haired idiots are going to have her sign their book. Oh, I love you, Hillary. I love you, Hillary. And then they're going home and they're not even going to read the book. They're just going to put it up on their shelf or whatever and show it to their blue-haired idiot friends. Look, I met Hillary Clinton and she signed my book. That's it. That's the only reason an actual person would ever buy that book. So, but this property tax nonsense, don't stop. We know property tax is a thing all over the country. California taxes, but some of the states go above and beyond taxing your home. California has a tax called business personal property, and that includes machinery, equipment, furniture, fixtures, and inventory in your business, all the physical items a business uses to operate. And each year, business owners are required to list and report all of those assets to the county so they can be taxed on it. So you basically pay a yearly penalty in California for owning the tools that you need to do your job. So I would have to pay a tax on my computer and my desk and my cameras and shit like that. And they will send inspectors around. I was reading something about right here. When I owned a restaurant in California for 10 years, assessors would come in every year to evaluate my kitchen equipment. They decided that my stoves, ovens, refrigerators, and furniture were worth $70,000 year after year, even though they were old, worn out, and often in need of replacement. Their justification was replacement rate, meaning they tax you on what it would cost to replace the equipment, not what the equipment is actually worth. So you're paying taxes on the theoretical cost of replacing items that you already own, and the tax is based on the retail replacement price of a 20-year-old range. So what the fuck is the government doing for you in return for your tax on your stoves, your fryers, and refrigerators? They're paying for more government inspectors to come shake you down for more money. That's what the fuck they're paying for. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And that's California. So you know what? Fuck them. You voted for that, dumbass Democrats. You got what you get. Well, I mean, at least that's what they want you to think. Because I don't even believe that there's such a thing as an election that's not rigged. So, but there's a lot of blue-haired retards in California who love that shit. But they charge you personal property tax on other things in other states. I know for a fact, West Virginia, because I know people that live there, you have to pay a personal property tax in West Virginia, not just for your home, but for things like your automobile and things that you own in order to keep those things. So every year you have to report your vehicles. If you own 1, 2, or 3 vehicles, you have to report that. And you might have to pay $5,000 to the government for every fucking vehicle that you own. A tax for something that you already own. So once again, you're leasing that shit. If you're paying like what if I just bought a car for $3,800 and then they're going to tell me I got to pay $3,000 a year to lease it from the state? That's a lease agreement. That's not, I don't own that fucking car if I have to pay a payment every year to the government to keep it. And if I don't make the payment, they'll come and take it away from me, charge me fines, possibly even put me in jail. So you don't own that shit. You don't own it. But what are the elite saying to us every day now? You will own nothing and be happy. Do I look like I'm happy? No, I'm not. And then they want you to go shut the fuck up and go eat some bugs while they eat steak and filet mignon and lobster every night. So you know what? Fuck these people. We got to do something about these people. I'm not going to say what it is, but we got to do something or the shit's not going to get any better. That's for sure. So yeah, like in West Virginia, you can't even own a car. You don't own your home. We know that. You don't own your land, and you don't own your car. Every single resident in the state of West Virginia is leasing their vehicle from the government. That's it. Like, if you don't own something that you have to keep paying for to keep, that's called renting, period. But anyway, you know, a lot of people have accused me of, you know, having no remorse for my crimes, of having, you know, of just being bitter and angry about, you know, that I just don't care, and that I have no remorse, and that I have never accepted responsibility for my actions. I went to prison for 2 fucking years. I'm on probation for another 1.5 years. I've served half of my probation sentence now. And on top of that, in places like Florida, after my probation ends, if I want to visit the state of Florida, we were talking about this last week, or no, this was on the members only stream. So here's a whole nother thing we can talk about in a minute. I don't remember if I talked about this last week, but I discovered Florida has a law. If you are a convicted felon and you so much as want to visit the state of Florida, I have 48 hours to go to the sheriff's office in the county where I want to visit and report that I'm a convicted felon. And then I get a special pass that allows me to visit Florida. They're going to take my photographs, fingerprint me. I have to fill out all kinds of sworn statements about what I did and when, and have all kinds of stuff with me, and go through all this bullshit for 5 years after I'm done with my probation. So we're done, Florida. Bye. I'm probably never going to set foot in that shithole again. Never. Not even after the 5 years is up. I'll find a beach somewhere else. Forget it. I got no reason to go to that hellhole. But that's the kind of shit that's the kind of freedom that they take away from you when you live in a Republican state. When you live in a communist liberal state, they take other freedoms away from you. But I would never have to register as a convicted felon to go visit New York after I've served my sentence and done my time and paid my debt to society. But Florida, your debt is never paid. Your debt is never paid. And so all of this for some fucking Twitter posts, 2 years in prison, 3 years of probation, 5 years of bullshit. If I want to go visit Florida, I can't go visit Florida for 5 years. Can never go to Canada again. Bunch of other countries I'll never be able to visit if I ever had the money or wanted to. And all because of social media posts. But if you want to know why I was bitter, why I'm still bitter about it, I've talked about it a lot. I shared a jail cell with a guy, for example. I'll say this over and over again. A guy who I shared a jail cell with got 14 months in jail for killing somebody. He killed somebody and went to jail for 14 months. I posted shit on social media, Twitter posts, mean tweets, and I went to prison for 2 years for mean tweets. But if I had killed somebody, and if I had gotten drunk off my ass and ran over a guy on a bicycle, I would have got 14 months in jail. I would have been better off getting shit-faced and running over someone on a bike and killing them than mean tweets on Twitter. Let that sink in. How can you experience that and watch that shit going on around you? I watched child molesters come into jail and get released from jail a couple weeks later for molesting kids. And I'm sitting there for 2 fucking years for mean tweets. If you were in my shoes, you'd be bitter too. Believe me, you would. Don't tell me you wouldn't. So anyway, I read this article and there was something that stood out about it to me. And I was talking about Donald Trump and how one reason I don't respect him in his presidency right now is because he doesn't seem to give a rat's ass about the Secret Service that allowed a kid with a rifle to climb up onto a rooftop 100 yards away from where he was speaking. I don't know. I have gone to see the president speak at least 3 or 4 times in my life. George Bush and beyond. You don't get 100 yards away from the president carrying a fucking rifle at all. You don't. You don't climb up on a fucking roof with or without a gun 100 yards away from the president and get away with that. You don't. That does not happen. The Secret Service does not let that happen. If you open a window in a building that has a line of sight to where the president is speaking, and it's a mile away from where the president is speaking, within a minute and a half, the Secret Service will be in that room where you are, pinning you to the ground and asking, why the hell did you open that window? And that's if you're a mile away, not 100 yards. So anybody who can't figure out that the Secret Service was in on the assassination attempt is you're fucking retarded. You're retarded. A kid climbed up on the roof of a building 100 yards away from Donald Trump with not just a gun, but a rifle. A rifle. Had to carry it over his shoulder. You can't just hide a rifle in your fucking pocket and climb up on a roof. How the fuck did he even get up on the roof? Did someone in the Secret Service give the kid a ladder? But regardless, I don't give a shit how he got up there. He was on the roof with a fucking rifle. People were pointing at him and calling the police and saying, look, there's a guy with a gun. And they didn't do a fucking thing about it. And they waited until the kid shot at Donald Trump and killed people. Then the snipers that had a line of sight on the kid took him out. But they waited. And it just happened to be on the same day that CNN decided, the one and only time CNN decided, we're going to air a Donald Trump campaign event live on TV. Today, no other days, that's it. The one and only time that CNN is going to show a live Donald Trump speech on the campaign trail just happened to be the one where he almost got shot in the head. Like, I mean, if you can't figure out that that was a fucking staged event and that that was an inside job, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you're retarded. I mean, if some of you watching the video, whether you're watching the replay or the live feed, and that don't make any sense to you, what I just said, then yeah, I hate to break it to you, but you're retarded. And you know, the one nice thing about Donald Trump being president is we're allowed to say that now. You can say retarded now, and you're not going to get canceled. At least, I don't know, maybe I'll disappear in a few days for saying it. But something that I read in this article, I guess there was another, I don't know, there was another assassination attempt somewhere. The arrest of Vern Miller in a rally at California's Coachella Valley raised fresh security fears for the former president. Oh, this is October 15th, 2024. That's the date of the article. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to go down. There have been other security incidents over the years where the attacker's exact motive was not determined, but law enforcement, public knowledge, blah, blah, blah. Here it is. 2016, someone tried to kill Donald Trump in Las Vegas. On June 18th, 2016, a man attempted to steal a police officer's firearm and use it on Trump during a rally in Las Vegas, Nevada. 20-year-old Michael Steven Sanford, who was, they even gave you the first, middle, and last name, which is important. If he had succeeded, you would know him by his first, middle, and last name. That's the Patsy. They always make sure you know all three names. Who was visiting the U.S. from the U.K., was immediately subdued by the officer and was taken into custody by the Secret Service. Sanford later told officials that his plan had been to kill Trump, who was speaking at the Treasure Island Hotel and Casino. Sanford later pleaded guilty to being an illegal alien in possession of a firearm and disrupting an official function. His defense argued that he suffered from mental health issues, including autism and obsessive compulsive disorder, which influenced his actions. He served most of his 12 months and 1 day long sentence before being deported back to the UK in 2017. So, the moral of this story is, if I had tried to kill Donald Trump by grabbing a gun from a police officer and actually tried to kill the president of the United States, if I had tried to do that and actually admitted to trying to kill Donald Trump, I would have went to jail for 12 months and 1 day. 12 months in 1 day for trying to kill Donald Trump, actually going for the gun and then admitting that I was trying to take the gun from a cop to shoot Donald Trump. That dude got 12 months in jail for trying to kill Donald Trump. And they gave me 2 years in prison for mean tweets. So no, I'm never going to say that I was treated fairly by these fucking corrupt scumbags in our government. Never. I can come up with one after the next, 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 after the next example of people who did much worse shit than me and got a slap on the wrist and didn't get in trouble for it at all. Or in the case of someone who actually did try to kill Donald Trump with a gun, got 12 months in jail. Which means he sat in jail from the day he was arrested till he took a plea deal. And when he showed up in court, he got time served, because the federal government will let you sit there for that. The whole process takes about 12 months. If you get arrested, they're going to make you sit for an entire year before you ever see the inside of a courtroom. That's how it works. They're going to get their blood out of you. Even if you go to trial and you're found not guilty, you will have already served at least a year and a half in jail, maybe 2 years. Even if you're found not guilty. And then what? You're not getting compensated for that. You're not going to be able to turn around and sue them or anything. You get to go home and try to rebuild your life. And even if a company does a background check on you, I'm pretty sure it's going to show that you were arrested and not convicted. Like they can probably, run a certain types of background checks where they can see that you were arrested but found not guilty. And then there was, another guy stole a forklift and then had the intent of driving it into President Trump's limo when he was en route to a rally. It doesn't really say how much time in jail he got. But anyway, I saw that and I had to make note of it because every time that somebody comes at me with this whole you don't accept responsibility, you don't have any remorse for your actions, etc., that's not the point. I'm telling you, I do have remorse and I have more than accepted responsibility for my actions, but I wasn't treated fair at all. And I will never agree to anybody claiming that I received fair treatment for what happened. No. I'm going to be serving a life sentence for that. Literally, for the rest of my life, I will be serving some sort of sentence for what I did that day. And so, those are the screen shares I had lined up to share with y'all. And, but, let's turn, now we're almost at the hour. So let's maybe turn it around and go from angry Adam to, I don't know, some sort of positive version of Adam and talk about the good things that are going on because, let's keep it balanced. Let's keep the scales balanced. So let's see. Well, before we even do that, we do have 4 minutes left. I can be negative, and then I'll make the second half positive. But somebody was somebody was bringing it up in the comments, and we got into a conversation about this dystopian AI-driven future and our digital wallet and our digital ID and having to have a digital ID just to get on the internet or do anything in society. And I was kind of thinking about this in conversation with people and just in general. And, you can go back to the Patriot Act. You can look up in Google Project Echelon, which was under Bill Clinton, the Patriot Act, and all of the acts of government that allowed them to start just gathering every piece of information on us that they could possibly get their hands on. So I'm just telling you, if you go back to 1992, every single email, phone call, fax, email, I said email, every website you've been to, everything you've ever signed up for, all your passwords, everything you have ever done, every titty picture that you ever sent someone in a text message, every text message that you ever sent or received, everything is in a government file right now that they can pull up at will and look at everything about you. When I was arrested, they handed me a PDF file as part of discovery. Have you ever seen a PDF document that's 650,000 pages long? 650,000 pages. I had a PDF document. The document itself was like 300 gigabytes. A PDF file that was something like 300 gigabytes. A 650,000 page document of everything that they had. That they could find about me. And believe me, it goes deeper than that. You might not believe that they're doing that until the government says, here, look at this, and hands you a 500,000 page PDF document that has every fucking text message and email and everything you've ever said or done listed in there. Every purchase you've ever made with a credit card, everything you've ever done in your life from like the mid 1990s till now. And they've been gathering all this information for years. The problem that they've had all along is that they're gathering so much crap that they don't know what to do with it. It's just too much stuff. No human being or group of human beings can ever go through all this stuff and figure out what's going on or catch everything that's in it. But now that they have all of it, they've been using it to train their AI bots. So just like you can go to Grok or Google Gemini or Chat GPT or whatever, and you can just ask a question about anything. And how long does it take? It takes about 2 seconds for the chat bot to spit back 20 pages of material about the question you just asked, with all of its sources, everything that it found on the internet, everything that it knows. Chat GPT can read an entire encyclopedia worth of knowledge in about 2 nanoseconds and spit back everything that it found related to the topic that you're asking a question about, like that. So you don't think these AI bots can do that? They're training that AI bot to do it with all of the information they've ever gathered about you and all the information they will continue to gather about you. And so I just came up with a stupid example of how they could use it and how a human being wouldn't be able to do it efficiently, but an AI bot can do it in 1/1000th of a second and ruin your life. And this is what's going to happen to all of us in some fashion. So marijuana is illegal. The federal government has declared that marijuana is illegal. Some states, at least 20 of the states, have passed laws saying that it is legal, but the federal government still considers it to be illegal. So, as part of my probation, I'm not allowed to smoke weed, even if I go to New York State, even in a state where they have weed stores. You can go into a store in Colorado, New York State. New York State, you can just walk into a store and you got like a whole wall of bud, 20, 30 different kinds of weed, and you can get an ounce of bud for $30. You can get an ounce of weed now for less than a tank of gas in New York State by going into a store. I'll take that, I'll take that, I'll take that, and that. You can get like 6 ounces of weed and you haven't even spent $100. Some of it's more expensive than others, but it's quite the drastic price cut if you're familiar with what weed prices were back in the day. So now that they have that Patriot Act and they can gather all this information about us and they've trained facial recognition technology and everything else and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I'm on federal probation. Could they not program an AI bot to track all of my credit card purchases? And let's say I got permission to go to New York State to visit some friends and family or whatever. And they're like, okay, yeah, you're free to go to New York State. Just let us know when you come back to Texas or whatever. You know, I have permission to go up there. What if I go into the weed store and I buy a bag of bud and I'm dumb enough to use a credit card? And as soon as I swipe that credit card, beep, 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 AI picks that up and sends that information directly to my probation officer saying, Adam just went into a weed store and used a credit card to buy weed. He's on federal probation. I thought you should know. The AI bot can do that in about 1/10 of a second from the second you swipe that card. So Blue Sky is saying cash is king. Is it? Facial recognition. There are cameras all over the place nowadays. There's a gas station right next to the weed store. They're side by side. In fact, I think it's the same owner. I think they cut the gas station in half and turned the other half into the weed store, and the other half is still the convenience store and the gas station. So there's cameras all over the place. If those cameras are connected to the internet, guess who can watch the cameras anytime they want? Johnny Law, the government. My FaceTime camera right now, they can, even if my camera is turned off, my phone, my laptop, any other camera that I have at home, any camera that's connected to the internet, whether it's on or off, they can connect to it anytime they want. They can watch it 24 hours a day. So, what if, okay, I'm smart enough to pay cash when I go to the weed store in New York. Well, what if you walk out of the weed store and they got you on facial recognition and your probation officer gets a text message within 30 seconds saying, Adam just walked out of a weed store. Here's the photo. You might want to give him a call and see what's going on. You might want to show up with a plastic cup. Yeah, it is. You can wear a special hat with a light to combat the fact. They're going to come out. They've already beat that. If you can beat it, they got, just like in Virginia, it's the only state in the United States where it's illegal to have a radar detector in your car. And a radar detector, as a side note, I've owned, in fact, I think I still own it. I got to find it. I think it's buried in my stuff. Random thing that survived the journey. I think I have a radar detector in a box, and I just have to dig it up. So a radar detector by itself is not that useful, but a radar detector along with like Waze and some other things that you can do is going to help you. The radar detector has stopped me from getting tickets before, plain and simple. Combined with Waze, combined with Google Maps and other things where they report cop sightings and whatnot. But I've had the radar detector alert me well in advance that a cop's up ahead. You get a lot of false alarms. You have to know how to read the thing. You have to know how it works. But anyway, Virginia, the cops have radar detectors. So they can aim a fucking radar detector at your car and detect whether you have a radar detector or not. So now what the fuck do I need to drive through Virginia? Now I need a radar detector. And then they're going to have a radar detector. And you're just going to have to keep up with this arms race back and forth because Virginia is a hillbilly. Virginia is just a police state. Virginia is one of the worst police states. Virginia, Georgia, New York, they're the three police states, the heaviest on the east side of the U.S. that I'm aware of. I would never want to live in any of those three states for sure. But I'm just saying, like, this AI shit, they're going to be able to set up flags, right? Like, let's just say you go to Walmart and you're going to one of those Walmarts with the grocery store, right? Let's say that you buy a shovel, some lime, ammo, some rope, and a hatchet, and a bunch of groceries and whatnot. And all of a sudden you get a knock on your door the next morning from the sheriff's department with a list of everything that you bought at Walmart. We see that you bought a shovel, some rope, some lime, some ammo, and a hatchet yesterday. Are you planning on doing something that we should know about? Boom. And how is that going to happen? Because an AI bot is going to be watching everything that you do. And as soon as you get tripped up, you buy 3 things at 3 different stores, even if you pay cash. Unless you're wearing a fucking coat. I swear the facial recognition stuff can figure out who you are, even if you're wearing a COVID mask on your face. How did they find most of the January 6th people that had their faces covered up? You know what I'm saying? Like, they are training these bots to completely enslave us. And, I use AI. I used it today. I'm working on a client's project today. I put in like 4 or 5 hours. I used AI a number of times to help me along the way. Text editing and stuff like that. It is what it is. I'm fighting against them. The best way that I can fight back against these scumbags is to put my life back together and become independent and self-sufficient, because that's the last thing that they want any of us to be. If I can use the tools of the beast to fight the beast, that's like a Nazi dropped a machine gun on the ground after you shot him, and then you picked up the machine gun that the Nazi dropped and you use it to shoot more Nazis. I don't think anybody would frown upon that. May as well. Someone's going to pick it up and use it. May as well be you. So I don't look at it any different than that. But now, holy crap, we're an hour and 10 minutes in. So halfway point, I said I would flip from negative to positive. So Oh, wow, my bakery can recognize my face with a face mask. You have to wear a mask? You're wearing a face mask in 2025? I wouldn't even, if they told me at my job that I had to wear a mask to go to work, I'd be like, we're done. Bye. I'd go home, right? I wouldn't even care. Wouldn't even care what probation would say. I would know in my heart that Jesus don't want me to work there anymore. And I would just walk out the door and let him take care of it. Because every time I did what I was supposed to do during the COVID scam, it always worked out for me. It always worked out the way it was supposed to. And it always came out right. If they told me, I mean, I worked with a bunch of idiots that would show up to Zoom meetings while they're working from home alone, wearing fit masks on their face because they were virtue signaling to everybody else in the company about what a good person they are. And I'm just like, you know what? You people can fuck off. Like, for real. Lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of friends during that period of time. People who people I never want to talk to again. Never will talk to again. But I said I would make it go positive. I gotta stay. So here we are. Positive time. Positive for the rest of the episode, I think. You know me. I have a hard time with that, but we'll try. So I've been trying to remember to pray more, because I do notice that, well, Jesus Calling, that's my book. That's the book, the devotional book that I read. I don't read it every day. I figure if I have this book for 10 years and I read it when I remember to read it, I only read whatever entry it is for that day. I don't go back and forth. And if I miss a week, I come back, I pick it up on the day that I'm at. I don't have to read the last 6 days. Figure if I have this book for 10 years and I read it when I remember to read it, at some point I will be able to say I've read the whole book. But October 15th and 16th, that's yesterday and today, I did read it. And it usually does line up with something that I'm thinking. And I thought it was kind of ironic, because I'll read yesterday's and today's, then I'll talk about it. Yesterday's entry for October 15th said, "Try to stay conscious of me as you go step by step through this day. My presence with you is both a promise and a protection. My final statement just before I ascended into heaven was, 'Surely I am with you always.' That promise was for all of my followers without exception. The promise of my presence is a powerful protection. As you journey through your life, there are numerous pitfalls along the way. Many voices clamor for your attention, enticing you to go their way. A few steps away from your true path are pits of self-pity and despair, plateaus of pride and self-will. If you take your eyes off of me and follow another's way, you are in grave danger. Even well-meaning friends can lead astray if you let them usurp my place in your life. The way to stay on the path of life is to keep your focus on me. Awareness of my presence is your best protection." Yeah, she died, the author of the book. I don't know when, but it was sometime, I think it was before I came home from prison. So, I'm sure she doesn't mind that I'm reading her book entries without, paying the royalty or whatever. She's getting all the royalties that she has coming to her in the presence of the Lord now. So I'm sure, money ain't no thing. But anyway, today's entry was kind of right in line with yesterday's. It says, look to me continually for help, comfort, and companionship, because I am always by your side. The briefest glance can connect you with me. When you look to me for help, it flows freely from my presence. this recognition of your need for me in small matters as well as large ones keeps you spiritually alive. When you need comfort, I love to enfold you in my arms. I enable you not only to feel comforted, but also be a channel through whom I comfort others. Thus, you are doubly blessed because a living channel absorbs some of whatever flows through it. My constant companionship is the piece de resistance, the summit of salvation blessings. No matter what losses you experience in your life, no one can take away this glorious gift. And so they kind of go hand in hand with each other one day after the next. And it kind of went right in line with what I was thinking about before I decided to go read the entry yesterday. And they spoke to me because it talks about praying for small things and large things. Sometimes I do pray about the small things, but a lot of times I'll forget to ask for help, especially when it's something small. And especially, when I'm at the point where I got this. I just got a warning that my connection is unstable. So if the connection is good, let me know. If you got the beach ball of death or whatever, let me know. I'll restart the stream. But I'm just going to keep going till I know otherwise. Oops. So, all right, cool. Went choppy for a second. So what the point was, sometimes I forget to ask for help, especially the small things, because, I got this, But, sometimes I do. Like sometimes I ask to be kept safe while I'm just driving to the grocery store. I get in the car and I drive. I'm like, Lord, keep me safe while I go to the grocery store and come back, Cleaning the house, though, I'm like, I got this. I don't need to ask for Jesus to help me clean the house. But he probably, from these entries, I should say, hey, Jesus, help me clean my house. Maybe if I ask Jesus to help me clean my house, maybe the place would stay cleaner. You saw in the house tour, the ones that watched it, the video I just posted, it looks clean. A week ago, it was a disaster. So I like to get it to a point where it looks clean. Now, under the surface, there's a lot of stuff I need to do. But I did start asking, I feel overwhelmed by all the different things that I have to do. And today and yesterday, I prayed before I started doing anything. And I've noticed the difference in the last couple of days. Things have felt smoother and I've just felt like an ease of, I don't feel as overwhelmed, period. So, I don't pray as much around the home as I do outside. I don't pray before I sit down to work at home, whatever it is I'm working on, freelance work, YouTube, whatever. I didn't even say a prayer before I got on this stream today. Maybe I should. Sometimes I do, just God guide me through this live stream, etc. But today, I guess I was like, I got this. I'm good, God. Just let me do my thing. I didn't say it. Doesn't mean I don't welcome it. If he wants to step in and guide the ship, I'm like, hey, take the wheel. Good. But, I don't do it at home. But more often than not, I do pray before I go to work at the bakery. There's just something about riding my bike there or driving there and having the time to have that conversation. And I am very conscious of how I love to reach out to God when I'm in trouble or things are going badly. I'm right on that prayer, but I'm on that prayer circuit as soon as things start to go bad or I'm anxious about something. But as soon as things start to go well, I forget to sit down and pray. I would say for the last few weeks when that money came my way and I got the car And once everything kind of stabled out for a couple of weeks and I could just check off all these things on my list, the car, the getting a bed, the workbench that you see back there, I am like the weather guy with the blue screen who's on the first day at the job. When I look at my video, it's reverse of what, it's not a mirror image, it's the opposite, it's what you see. So it's hard to point and know which way. I point this way, but it goes the opposite way. And unless you do it, you wouldn't know. It messes with your mind. But as soon as things start to go well, I forget to pray sometimes, and I have to remind myself, you need to still be grateful and thank God for all the things that he's doing for you, and, pray for the things that you still need help with. I would ride my bicycle to the bakery and I would either say a set of prayers, generally the same thing every day, keep me safe, keep everyone at work safe, help us all get along with each other, help the time go by fast, and more. That's the gist of it. I would normally say, and then on my way home from the bakery, a lot of times on my bicycle, I would just be gratitude. I would just be thanking God for everything I can think of on my way home. I've got an hour and a half to ride my bike. I'm either going to be listening to some tunes or talking to the Lord because there's nobody else to talk to. And so on the way home, if I'm talking to Jesus, it's usually just all the different things that I'm thankful for and just trying to come up with those things. You're asking me if I'm feeling more energy now with the car and the bed. Yes, overall. My foot pain is subsiding. I feel like I can ride my bike comfortably again. I'm still going to go another week or two. I'm shooting for not this coming weekend, but the following Saturday. I'm thinking that might be a good target to try and ride my bike to and from, which gives me Monday, this weekend and Monday, I can take some stuff with me to kind of prepare for that and make it easier. Like I was saying, maybe give my bike a quick tune-up because I've got that bike shop back there. Little mini bike shop. Having those tools back there, oh my God, that workbench has more than paid for itself. The hassle and everything. I've been doing projects all around the house, and I'm telling you, having all my tools organized. I worked on one project that I was supposed to only need a screwdriver and a small wrench to do, and I ended up having to pull out the drill bits, different size screwdrivers and ratchets. I had to go out to the car and get my Craftsman set, my ratchet set that I just bought, bring it in the house, pull out 2 or 3 different sockets and a small ratchet. And I'm telling you, I had tools all over the freaking place by the time I was done with this little project. But then I put them all away. Everything went exactly back where it was supposed to go, the thing back in the car and everything. And if I didn't have this workbench area set up over here with all that stuff organized, I'd have been like out of my mind, digging through bags, trying to find some random tool and this and that and the other thing. No, it makes things so much easier. In the last week, it's countless. I'm on Facebook now looking for a love seat, and I have to keep the width 50 inches. Any wider than that, and it's not going to fit in the space well that I'm trying to fit a love seat in. And it's hard to find a good love seat that's 50 inches or less in width. But I have a tape measure right up on my workbench there. So as I'm measuring things, or like I see something on Facebook and I want to, how is that going to fit? Go grab my tape measure. It's right there. I know exactly where it is. I've got my level right there. If I need to, I had to use the level on the project the other day that I was just talking about. The level. I have a little bubble level, a couple of little bubble levels that came with different things, but they're useful. And I used one of those that I could just set on something and see if it's level enough. I could put it on top of the TV and see if the TV's tilted, because I'm like, the TV is level according to the level, but there's like an optical illusion going on. It looks like it's tilted, but it's probably because the wall and the ceiling aren't level and something else isn't level, and it's tricking my eye into thinking it's tilted when the TV was. So I had to like optically tilt the TV, or else my OCD was going to go off the rails, and like all these different things. Yeah, I've thought about maybe putting a couple chairs side by side. I want a love seat though. And there's plenty to pick from. There's one, a beautiful one on Facebook right now. I could probably get it for like $80. And it's leather with this intricate wood. I mean, this thing is probably like $2,000. This dude, somebody in the Woodlands, some rich asshole just wants to get rid of it. I could probably get it for $80. I checked on it. Let's see. I'm going to open up Facebook Marketplace, and then I'll share my screen if it pops up. Oh, I did get a new message. Oh, that's another. Oh, there's two of them. This one's way too expensive for my budget right now. Oh, and somebody's coming to look at it. But it's an Art Deco piece. It's really nice. Where's the other one? I'm just going to pull up this guy. $80. I would have to go. This thing is not really my style, but yeah, I'll share my screen. Why? It's fun to share my screen. This thing here, $80. Leather sofa, love seat with these big wing arms. Probably it looks like it would be pretty comfortable. I could get a couple of Moroccan poofs or a nice ottoman to go with it. Anyway, I talked to the guy today. It's between 60 and 70 inches wide. So I could squeeze it into the space, but it's going to be really tight. Plus, it doesn't really match anything in the space. The only thing I would be holding it for is someday I'm going to I'm going to live in a better place. And this will be a snazzy piece of furniture for a future place that I live. This other one, that's more my style, the Art Deco kind of style. And these chairs and couches, they're expensive. I don't know the exact name of this style and the name of the designer who designed these, but you see these chairs in fancy offices and rich people's homes all the time. I think that's dope. But the guy wants $460, and he says somebody's coming to look at it this weekend, so that's probably gone. This thing would have been like $2,000 to $4,000 new. But either way, that's out of my budget, the 466. But that would actually fit in the space that I'm trying to fit it in. So but I'm not going to spend that much on a couch. So, but it was fun to look at. There was one that popped up. It was an Ekhorn love seat. I can find ECKHORN stressless love seat. Pull this up. I'll share my screen for this. These popped up within a day after me moving to where I live now. Pretty famous designer, European design love seat. This thing was dope. These things used $2,000. Somebody had this listed on Facebook Marketplace for a brand new one of these. Looked brand new in the photos anyway. I'm trying to find one that looks exactly like it. Probably closest to that. These things are like $5,000 new. And I could have got one for $150. The day I moved in here, I still had the U-Haul when I saw it listed, and I did sit here for a couple hours with the U-Haul, waiting to see if I would hear back from the guy. waiting to see if I would hear back from the person so that I could just haul ass over with the U-Haul, pick this thing up and bring it back and set it up in my place. But it didn't work out. Somebody snatched that thing up within a few days and it was gone. But that, so far, that was the best deal I've seen on a couch. This thing would be pretty cool. This thing here, I think it's cool. It's got personality. It's got character. I don't like that like Victorian fancy, but it is a cool freaking couch. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I would, for $80, if the guy turns around and says that, like, if he comes back with a specific length width, because that thing looks really wide with these armrests like that. But I think I would just have to do it and make it work. But I wouldn't be able to have an end table, or I wouldn't be able to have a nightstand next to my bed, because this thing would take up the entire width of the space that I have to put something in. But let me just do one thing here. These, I used to have two of these Moroccan leather poofs for footstools on an old couch at my old home before the FBI came. My landlord actually kept them as part of our thing. But you can get these things. They come either stuffed or not stuffed. And they're not, they don't take a whole lot of stuff to stuff them yourself. This particular one, I think this looks identical to the one that I had. The only thing I didn't like about it is all the ornate rope work on it would dig into your feet, and it was actually kind of uncomfortable because those knots in the rope are actually really hard. And so when you're using it as a footstool, it wasn't always comfortable, but it looked really dope. And that would match that couch pretty well. Or something like it, maybe get a different color leather for the footstool or whatnot. But I'd make it work. I mean, if the $80 for a couch that nice, I might have to see what's up. My landlord has a pickup truck sitting right here, a Toyota Tacoma, and it's always sitting there. He would probably, if I asked him nicely, he might let me borrow it to go get something like that. He's a cool dude. He might do that. Who knows? If not, it's like $50-$60 to go get a U-Haul. And if I did that couch, that decorative leather couch, I would most likely get a Moroccan poof footstool for it. Like a big one. That's the same height as the couch instead of a coffee table. Because I want some place to put my feet and kick it. Plus, I have this figured out to where the center, I want the center of the love seat to line up exactly with the center of the TV. And so like 70 inches would put it off center. And my OCD would not vibe with that very well. I'd get used to it and be like, well, I guess it's good enough, but it would bother me. And so like I would be like 50 inches up to 60 inches, I could definitely make it fit. So if the guy comes back and says that this couch is, if this guy says that it's 60 inches from the side of the armrest to the other, I might have to, I might have to see if I can make it work. And then I'm done. That's the last piece of furniture that I would be getting for the place. Just suck it up, get it done, and then the rest of the time I live here, no more. I'm done. Alex says, hey, y'all, it's windy as hell in Rosedale, Victoria, but when isn't it? Terrible town. How's the weather in your part of the world? Still 90 degrees in Houston. It hasn't rained in weeks. Loving it. I did go to the car wash yesterday. I might have to get one of these unlimited car wash memberships that they have. I went to the cheap car wash yesterday. It was only $13. But I never got to see how clean my car was. 3 minutes after I left the car wash, I'm going down the road, and this road crew was spraying water all over the road. They covered this one stretch of road with this big thick puddle of water, and it was all dirty, muddy, dirty ass water. And so I had to drive my car through that and get all this mud and dirt all over the car. And then right around the corner from there, not even 2 minutes after that, while my car is now wet and covered with all that crap, another construction crew working on another site kicked up this big giant ball of dust and dirt that completely covered the road so thick you couldn't even see through it. It was like driving through a dirt cloud. And when I got home, my car was filthy, like dirtier than it was when I left the house. You could write my name on the hood with my finger in the dirt. I was so pissed. I was like, I shouldn't have even gone to the car wash. What was the point? And then my best friend was telling me that he signed up for an unlimited car wash membership. Some of these bigger car washes here for like $30 a month. You can get unlimited car washes. I'm like, if I can find one close to home where I can, in fact, there is right at the end of my street. I'm going to have to look it up. Right by the Walmart at the end of my street, there's a car wash like that. So if they have a monthly membership that's cheap enough to where I can be 2 minutes from my house, and if for some reason someone gets a bunch of crap all over my car before I get home, I can turn right around and go back and do it again. But it's 90 degrees in Houston. It's a little bit chilly on some mornings, but I don't know what chilly means. I feel like it's chilly on some of the mornings. But I think I'm turning into one of them Southern people who think it's freezing cold when it's 70 degrees outside. That is going to happen to me. I already know. Like, I'm going to be like, man, I got to wear a coat. It's 70. It's going to happen. It's going to happen to me. 70 is going to be like the new 40. But I love the heat. People were saying, oh, you're going to hate Houston. It's too hot. Like, I don't know, 104, I think it got up to. And I was riding my bike and I was enjoying it. I mean, yeah, it was a bit hot. I had to stop and get some Gatorade or I was going to be, feeling that. But I was happy to be outside in the heat. So whatever, it is what it is. I did hear that there's a storm somewhere up in the Northeast on the coast. Is it like a nor'easter, they said? Yeah, I don't miss it. I don't miss the weather up there at all. Don't miss the weather up in the Northeast at all. So, don't miss it. Don't ever want to see another winter again. I would never get tired of it. If it was 98 degrees every day for the rest of my life, I wouldn't get tired of it. I can wear shorts and a t-shirt and, I still can go outside in jeans and a t-shirt and be comfortable, but you get a little sweaty down there when it's really hot and humid. You're going to have to take a couple of showers when you get home. But other than that, you get the Gold Bond powder, it keeps you nice and dry, or, it absorbs some of that funk. But I'll mind it. I don't mind the heat. Everybody said I was going to hate it. I don't know, 104? Like, I didn't complain when it was 104, so I don't know when I'm going to. But anyway, I was talking about, praying on my way to the bakery and all that kind of stuff, and back to the Jesus stuff. Even if I forgot to pray before I left the house when I was riding my bike to the bakery, I usually have an hour and a half or so to do it on my way in. On my silver bike, I don't take music with me. I just go quiet. On the red bike, Sometimes I put my sound system on and I've got some loud music, so maybe I won't as much. But for a minute after I got the car, like I was saying, and started doing all this stuff around the house, working on phase 2 of my tiny home plan, I found myself, I wasn't praying much. I noticed it more than once when I would get to the bakery and people were there was like a little passive aggressive attitude in the air. And I would be like, oh, I didn't pray this morning. It would be like a reminder because I notice when I forget to pray about that stuff, I feel like it makes a difference. I notice a difference in everything if I pray before I go into that bakery than if I don't. It makes a difference. There's like, the day goes by faster, everybody's in a better mood, everything goes smoother. If I forget to pray, something will happen to remind me, hey, you forgot. I mean, I'm anxious. I got a lot of things related to like money and my work and trying to figure out, okay, like you blew through that money. How are you going to pay your bills after next month? And yeah, I got some things done, but now I got to figure out what's next. I'm being pulled in a lot of different directions right now. And it feels like sometimes it just feels like none of these directions are the direction I'm supposed to go. And so I tend to beat myself up a lot and focus on what I have not done or what I have not accomplished rather than looking around to see what I have done or what I have accomplished, to the point where if I had a list of 10 things I wanted to get done today and I get 9 of them done, I'll be more focused on the one thing I didn't get done than the 9 things I did. And I have to remind myself, look at what you did. I have to look around my house. And instead of thinking about the things I didn't get done this week, I can look around and say, look how much nicer your house looks than it did 3 weeks ago, dude, and how much more organized it is, and this and that and the other thing. Don't worry about what you didn't do. Look at what you did sometimes. The all hands on deck meeting at the bakery will be this Sunday. So I don't know what's going on. I got my thoughts, but I really, I'm not going to know till I know. It could go either way from what I'm thinking. I got evidence to support both sides of where my mind is going there, but it's not worth dwelling on. Like God, he promises to always be with us, not sometimes, but always. And he wants you to acknowledge him when you're going through your strife, your problems, your anxiety, and so forth. But also when things are going well and you don't feel like you need any help at the moment. And that's part of what I had to sit down and do this week. Like I said, along with focusing what I haven't done, on top of that, sometimes I sit around taking credit for what I have done or what I have accomplished. And I don't give God the credit he deserves, because in a lot of cases, it was impossible to get these things done without him. And that includes the stuff I've done with the house and the car and all the different things of the last few weeks. That wouldn't have happened without God intervening and making all these things happen. So the fact that Jesus was the most blameless person that ever walked the earth, and yet he was made to suffer more than any of us have had to endure. Last time I checked, being nailed to a wooden cross and hung up to die is a lot worse day than any day I've ever had to endure. And I went to prison for mean tweets. So, that wasn't even as bad as what Jesus had to go through. On top of that, I wasn't blameless. So, like I've said more than once, I'll never agree that I deserved the level of punishment that I got for what I did. But, I actually believe that I know for a fact that a lot of the prison guards, the probation officers, and the people involved on that side that, of the fence, so does the people that work in that part of the system, they agree that I got dished out worse punishment than I deserved. because these people see the worst of the worst on a regular basis. And then they see me come in, they ask me what I did, mean tweets, and they're like, what the fuck are you here for? And they're scratching their head. They can't figure, and then they're thinking like, how much is our government gone out of control that they're bringing people to the prison I work at for fucking Twitter posts? And you know what happened to bringing rapists and child molesters and armed robbers and murderers? Now you're going to prison for a mean tweet, and it won't be long before you're going to prison for a fucking meme. In fact, a guy somewhere in America, I can't remember the details, I'm gonna have to pull this up later. There is a guy who just went to prison for a meme. In fact, it's happened a couple of times. I have at least 2 examples of Americans that have gone to prison for posting a meme. A meme. Oh my God. I'm going to have to look. I've got some other things to say, but I can look. And I want to try and stay positive for the rest of the show. So I'm going to make a note to find for the next show, find the people who went to prison for memes. And then we can talk about it later. So we can just pick that conversation right back up where we left off when it's time. But like I was saying, the prison guards, probation officers, all these people in the system that got to know me and figure out what I was in there for, they thought I was dished out more than I deserved. And so a lot of them throughout the process would handle me with light gloves. They wouldn't go full bore on me and just kind of like, you be cool, we'll be cool. You know what I mean? We're not going to harass you. We're not going to make your life the living hell. I can come up with hundreds of examples of where I got a pass or I got treated better than the other inmates because for the sole purpose of A, they didn't believe I deserved to be there in the first place, and B, I was cool with them. I wasn't giving them any shit. They in turn weren't giving me any shit and making my life difficult. So that wasn't everybody. Some of these guards in that system, some of the people who work in that system are there just to be an asshole to you, and they don't care. And if you're in there, you're all equal in their eyes. But that was more the exception to the rule. For the most part, people would find out, and I'm just going through it in my head. I've already got 30 different people in my mind going boom, 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 boom along the way who are all like dumbfounded that I was put in prison for that. And so the point is that if and when I have another really bad day at some point, I just need to take stock in the fact that this life is only temporary. Jesus endured a hell of a lot worse than I ever have because he knew what was next. He didn't want to go to the cross. He didn't want to do that. I just finished watching the newest season of The Chosen, and it shows Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane praying and like I'm sure that is pretty damn accurate, that show, about what he was actually going through the night they came and arrested him, his last night on earth as a living human being before they put him on the cross. And he wasn't taking it lightly. He knew he was going to come back from the dead in 3 days. He kept telling his disciples over and over again, you're going to see me die. I'm going to come back to life. He even went and showed them by raising Lazarus from the dead 3 days after he died as an example to try and get them to have faith that the same thing can, if I can bring Lazarus back from the dead, why don't you think I can bring myself back from the dead? But they still wouldn't listen to him. But that didn't mean that he was going, that didn't mean that he wasn't afraid or that he didn't want to go through it, but he did it anyway because he knew there was something better on the other side. And in the end, he's always there. He always seems to bring his will about. In my opinion, in my experience, it's almost never in the time I want it to take place, but in the end, it always seems to be at the right time. Um, 2 examples. I found a place to live when I needed to, both times here in Houston. It fell into place both times. Granted, the first time, the place I moved into was horrible, with a horrible slumlord. You all know, you've all been, you all watched the videos, you know. But it set me up to find the place where I'm at now, which I like. Is it the best place I've ever lived? Not even close, but it's setting me up to get to the next level, you know, and I'm cool with it. The landlord's cool. Like, it's a much better situation. And I'll talk about it more in a minute. But then, you know, he brought me a car. I was really at the point before that money came my way. I did not know how much longer I was going to be able to keep up the routine that I was in, because I was getting more exhausted week after week after week, and I wasn't able to recover. I would burn out 100% and recover 10, 20, 30, 40% week after week after week. So I'm constantly digging a hole deeper and only recovering about half of what I dug. Digging another hole, filling it about halfway back what you dug up, and the hole just keeps getting deeper and deeper, and I'm feeling worse and worse week after week. There was going to come a point in time I just couldn't do it anymore physically. And it was like God just knew and was like, I got you. I'll get you a car. Finally. And I'm not complaining. But it did seem that it came right in the nick of time, because I had all the energy in the world in February to ride back and forth to this job, even though it was cold. Now we're at the end of summer and I'm done. 4,000 miles later, over. I'm over. I can hardly pedal my bike because my foot hurts so bad. And no matter what I did to try and fix my foot, it just kept getting worse. The only thing that would make it stop is to stop biking. But the car is pretty good so far. It's got some problems. It was $3,800. Every time I drive it, every time I look it over, I see something new wrong with it. $3,800. Every vehicle I've ever owned, anytime I've ever owned a vehicle ever in my life, I have had a list of what's wrong with it. Be it my Wrangler, be it the Mini Cooper, be it my Nissan Frontier that I didn't even own that long. From the day I bought it, it had things I had to, okay, cars got problems. That's what they do. My tail light for the license plate, now every time I turn the key and start the car, it goes through this whole process of warning me and giving me all this detailed information about the license plate bulb needing to be replaced. But it plays this whole thing on the screen, and it won't let me cancel it out. It has to show me this 10-page freaking description of the problem. I'm like, that's great, Volkswagen. Thanks for this very detailed description about replace your license plate bulb. And I can't even get a straight answer on Google, YouTube, whatever, of what I have to replace. So I found some stuff. That's one thing about this car I'm having problems with, is whenever I try to look something up about it, I don't get a consistent, accurate answer for that model, make, and year. So, but it's, it is what it is. I'll figure it out. It's a light bulb, or it's a light fixture that I have to pop out, put in. I got to figure out how to pull it out. I don't even know how to do that yet. So I hope it's just pop it out, pop it in. But whatever, little things. There's a few little things. I noticed a couple of other things I won't even talk about. But I'll probably make a little spreadsheet once I start spending money on fixing the car, just so that I have an accurate record of what the cost of ownership is and whatnot. And I'm sure if I had bought the Toyota Corolla that I was weighing against this car that I didn't go look at, I would have had the same thing. I would have been finding things wrong with that. And there are some that I've found on this car that make me scratch my head and go, how the hell did you not see that? But you're not going to see everything when you go look at a car. And a couple of things, it's taken me I didn't even know the car had a sunroof for a couple of days until I looked up and I'm like, oh my God, this car has a sunroof. Because I was focused on things like the engine and brakes and tires and mechanical stuff and like making sure it was a good car. I wasn't looking at certain details and just wasn't even registering certain things. So anyway, leveling up. So I just leveled up again with the car and the house. And as a Reek, I always keep talking about how my life has felt a lot like playing a video game. And there's certain characteristics when you play a video game with multiple levels that you get to the end of the level that you're on, and before you get to the next level, it gets really hard. And then you level up, and for a while, the next level is easier than the end of the level that you just finished. Whether it's Super Mario Brothers, Ninja Gaiden, Grand Theft Auto, Assassin's Creed, whatever game you play. Auto racing games are the same. You get to a certain point in the level that you're at where all of a sudden it gets super, super difficult, and you might have to try again and again and again to get past it. And then you get to the next level and you're on like cruise control for a bit, and then it starts to get harder and harder. And that's kind of like the sign that you're about to fight the boss at the end of the level. And so on level 1 was the day I came home from prison, and I found myself living with my batshit crazy ex-girlfriend who went completely off the rails, treated me like total shit, and threw me out into the street to become homeless. And it just kept getting worse. And for a little bit, for like maybe 10 days, I felt somewhat relaxed because I'm not in prison anymore. I'm in a place, and she goes to work, and I'm there by myself, and it's quiet. And I forgot what quiet sounds like. And I can sit in front of a computer and be on the internet and talk to my friends and do different, and for a minute it was okay. And then it just started to go down the shitter fast. And right before she was about to throw me out in the street to be homeless, it really started to get difficult and crazy there. And, I wouldn't say prior to that things were coasting along, but I felt some level of security for at least a couple of weeks. I mean, it wasn't that long. It was like 4 or 5 weeks before I was homeless. I didn't even have a month and a half to get prepared for that. And I didn't even have time to even start getting on my feet. I had just gotten my driver's license in the mail the day she threw me out. Lucky that shit came in the mail when it did. Prior to that, I don't know, but at the end of each level of the video game, it's kind of like that. So, batshit crazy ex-girlfriend was the boss of the first level, and I had to beat her and get to the next level. And then level 2 was the day I became homeless and started living in a homeless shelter in Jamestown, New York. And it's sad. It's crazy to let that sink in, that living in a homeless shelter and being homeless was an upgrade. That was a level up from living with my ex. So, let that sink in for a minute, that being homeless was better than where I just was, than having a home. Being homeless was better. That blows my mind, but it was. It was. The first day was very nerve-wracking and difficult. But within a day or two, it began to sink in that my life had just become better than it was because I didn't have to deal with her anymore. And that was the first time I sat down and started putting a video up on YouTube And the situation kept getting more difficult while I was homeless and kept getting more annoying until I was finally approved to move on and go to the next level. So, probation and the homeless shelter, I think the probation office was the boss of level 2. I had to get past them and get permission to move to Texas. And they were fighting me and trying to keep me from being able to do it. They were trying to force me to stay homeless, even though I had a home to go to. It was just in Texas. So that was difficult. Couldn't find a job up there, couldn't find anything to make life work in Jamestown. But level 3, I reached level 3 when I was able to pack up and move to Houston and move in with my best friend and his family. And honestly, that helped me in so many ways I couldn't even really begin to describe it. It was one of the most generous things that anybody has ever done for me. And I hope that someday I can do something to repay them down the road as significant as that was for me. I'm still getting on my feet, but I'm not going to forget. However, after a few months of living with my friend and his wife and his kid, it was wearing me down. And of course, it was wearing them down too. Having a stranger kind of permanent house guest, semi-permanent house guest. And everybody, myself and my friend, and everybody was getting annoyed and certain things and vice versa. And so we had a deadline in place for me to move out. And it was very difficult for me to find that first place to live, mainly because I couldn't find anything when I would look. Facebook, Craigslist, all the different places to look for a place to live weren't showing me anything good. And so things got more annoying and frustrating right up until the day that I was able to move and I found that tool shed to move into. And then I'm at level 4. Level 4 was the day that I moved into that ridiculous, stupid ass tool shed that you saw me living in for 4 months. And it was okay at first. All the utilities were included. It was one payment to one guy every month. And, it was okay. I was making the best of the situation, but I had no hot water, and whatever. But it was working out at first. You saw the videos. The first month or two of videos, I really wasn't that upset, except for the fact that he wouldn't fix the hot water. I had 2 bicycles at that point, so that even took stress off of me from having to commute those long distances to the bakery and back. If something was wrong with a bicycle, I didn't have to dig in and make sure that my bicycle is come home from a hard day at work and have to spend all night fixing my bicycle so that I could go back the next day. I could set it aside, pick up the other bicycle and go. That was a big stress relief. But after I'd been there for 2 months, anybody who watches the channel would know that scam artist Slumlord decided he was going to try and scam me into paying more rent. He was trying to get me to pay as much rent as I'm paying to live where I live right now. And this place is way fucking better than that. I have a tub I can soak in, let alone that shitty piece of crap shower. Oh, I could barely take a shower in that place, even when he fixed the hot water. But that guy tried to scam me into paying him more rent and then threatening to throw me out into the street illegally. And so the next 2 months were extremely difficult and extremely stressful. But in the end, I ended up much better off, and I got to stick it to that asshole when I walked off of his property without giving him any more money. And I left him with an unrented place and no income for the following month or two. And I could talk about that guy all day long, but in the end, it worked out better for me. But that guy ended up being the boss of level 4. And I had to beat the boss in order to level up once again. And things got really difficult right at the end. But, I was out of there 2 months before my lease term expired, and I didn't have any consequence to that. And the very second The second that all four wheels of the moving van were on the road and I never had to set foot on that shitty property again, I felt this wave of relief. You would not be able to comprehend the wave of relief that went through my whole mind and body as soon as all four wheels of that moving van hit the road. Unless you had been through what I've been through leading up until that point, you just wouldn't even be able to comprehend how profound that felt getting off of that property and on the way to this one. And then level 5 was moving into here where I'm right now. And it was, like I said, instant relief from the last situation. And as time passed, it's gotten more and more evident that this place was a good fit for me, even though it was the first place I looked at, but it was the last place I wanted to move into out of all of them. But for one reason or another, no internet available. Now the landlord of you guys knew that I was looking at that garage apartment, and I was kind of on that kick for a couple of weeks trying to get that guy to rent it to me. He rented it out like 2 weeks ago. I'm telling you, I saw that ad change because I had a notification pop up, and that guy finally rented out that garage apartment like 2 weeks for the month of October. So he went May, June, July, August, September without renting that place out, and finally rented it out to somebody to start living in October. So that's how picky this guy was about having a tenant live in that apartment. That would have been a freaking nightmare having that guy as a landlord. I can tell you just from that, waiting 5 months to pick a tenant out of the 150 people he had come and look at the place, get out of here. He would have been a nightmare, a nonstop nightmare. So glad I don't live there. It worked out the way it was supposed to. Little gems, since I've moved here, the bicycle trail is right down the street. Like, all I got to do is go to the end of my driveway, make a right, go down a quiet road, and then boom, I'm on a bicycle trail. And I can take that bicycle trail for like 12 miles on my way to my 25-mile bike ride. So I can ride on a peaceful, tranquil bicycle trail for at least about around 12 miles, half of my bike ride to the bakery, before I have to get on any roads. If I want to, I don't have to. It does add 11, 12, 34. It adds about 7 miles to the ride, taking that route. But the 7 miles comes with tranquility and peace and things that make it worth it if I'm in the mood for it. Sometimes I just want to lay tracks and get there. The fastest way I can go is also the most dangerous in terms of roads and traffic and such, but it's a trade-off. There's no, one's not better than the other. It's just, you want fast and dangerous, or do you want slow and peaceful? And there's a time and place for both. But the little gem, I didn't know the bike trail was that close to this house. That thing is nice. There's a park down there. I have not explored the park other than getting on the bicycle trail. There's hiking trails all over that park. You could probably go swim in the creek. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I've never seen an alligator here, but I know they are. So I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. I have a feeling I'm going to go down and go hiking around that park and maybe some other places within the next few weeks. Just take an afternoon to go on a hike. It'll count towards my miles of adventure. I'll probably go to the beach at some point. I'm not in a hurry. I've been focused on home and making my home comfortable because I'm old. I like to be at home. I don't need to be on an adventure every day and out and about all the time like I did when I was young. My home is my castle. Wherever I live, I'm going to make it the best it can be. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I haven't really, I do want to go to the beach and hang out, spend a couple days camping by the ocean, but I'll get there. It's still 90 degrees out every day, so I'm not I don't feel like it's got to be this week. I feel like I got until Thanksgiving to figure that out before the weather gets a little chilly. And even then, if it gets down to 45 at night, that's like fall camping. And that will be, back in New York and Pittsburgh, that'll be, there'll be snow on the ground and it'll be too cold. I mean, I camp in the winter occasionally, but I've camped in like 20 below zero weather before, and made it work. But anyway, moving into this place, level 5, it was great. But then as time moved on and the miles of the bicycle started to rack up, my body just kept getting more and more burned out and deteriorating from the constant cycling and the constant hassle of everything, like having to walk with a backpack to go get groceries or get them delivered, or having to order everything on Amazon instead of, like, Facebook Marketplace has saved me so much money since I got the car. I've gotten a handful of things on Facebook Marketplace because I could drive to get it. That stool at the workbench back there, I got it for less. That stool and the workbench I got on Facebook Marketplace, half the price of what a stool like that would have been on Amazon. But just the constant cycling and the constant hassle of not having a car, having to bicycle or walk anytime I had to go anywhere to do anything, even like simple things. I would have to like not do certain things. Like now I can go to church. I can find a church that I vibe with because I can go to a church. I can explore and see if there's a church somewhere that I like around here, even if it means I have to drive there. Anything that would be simple to do with a vehicle could be extremely complicated and tedious and exhausting on a bicycle. And it was starting to build up and it was starting to really bring me down. And then that random mail, that money fell out of the sky when it was time to go look for a car. And just the hassle of looking for a car when you don't already have a car. And every time you go look at a car, you got to ride your bicycle to do it. 15 miles there and back, another 15 there and back, 8 miles to go that one, 4 miles for that one. Go look at this car, ride another 5 miles, look at another car, ride another 6 miles, look at another car, and then ride 8 miles home. And I'm doing that for like 2 or 3 weeks. That was exhausting. That burned me out even worse looking for the car. And that's part of the reason why I started to flake out when I'm looking at the Volkswagen. That's part of the reason why I didn't notice certain things about the car, because I was so burned out that I'm like, make sure you look at the engine, look under the car, look for rust, look for leaks, look for all the important things. But the cosmetic stuff I wasn't paying as much attention to. And so, the whole order of events was kind of unreal. I get this random text from the old landlord asking me for an address so she could forward this mail that she got for me years after I'm not living there. And a couple weeks later, my phone started to die and I felt like I needed to get a new one. And that was a big hassle, but I was able to make it happen. But I was like, how am I going to get the money for this? And then the very next day after I ordered the new phone, the letter showed up about the money falling out of the sky. I had no idea that was what that letter was going to be. I thought it was going to be junk mail that she forwarded me. I had no idea I had money coming to me. But it was still a month-long hassle of phone calls and bad customer service and waiting some more, and then waiting for my bank and waiting for over a month to get my hands on the money. And then I had to go on that exhausting car search for a couple of weeks. So I don't know, maybe the banks were the boss of the level. The bank was the boss. And I don't know, like trying to find a car while I'm on a bike. Now, if I had to go look for a car, if I already have a car, that's pretty easy to go driving around and look at this car, look at that car, go to this place, go to that place. I can drive. I can do it. I can, put on a pair of jeans and a nice shirt, go look at cars. I don't have to plan out 30 miles worth of bicycling tomorrow to go do these errands and go look at these cars and such. Um, yeah, the old landlord, they were really great people. I felt really bad about the damage done to the house, but I compensated them, and that's a long story. I always talk about my mechanic that I had back home. It was her husband owned an auto garage about 3 miles away from the house where I lived. And so I always took my vehicles to them, and I never took my vehicles anywhere else for 6 years. And so I knew them I got to know them very well. And they were great people, and it was a great experience. And they were just as shocked as I was when this all happened, and they felt bad. You know, they thought I was a good guy and that I didn't deserve this shit either. People have made comments about how they felt exactly the same way I did, and they're just as sick of this piece of shit government as I was and am. I don't feel any, I have no love for the United States of America. I hate this country. And when I say that, I don't hate what it's supposed to be. I don't hate the Constitution. I don't hate the Bill of Rights. I hate the people in charge because they don't give a fuck about the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. They've taken that all away from us, and so fuck them. I hate this country for that reason. Is there a better place on earth to go? I don't know. I haven't been, so I'm not gonna, I can speculate. Maybe something I can talk about next week, because I have. In fact, that gives me something to talk about next week. I've read news articles or articles of such where people are like, well, if you don't like it here, why don't you just leave? Well, it's not that easy, because in other countries, unlike the United States, you can't just walk in and say, I'm here, give me a bunch of free shit and give me a place to live and let me go get a job. They don't do that. They don't work that way. So I can't just waltz into some other country and say, this is where I'm living now. They don't do that. They don't play like that. So, but believe me, I would have already left if you can. But I've read a lot of articles by people who left the United States to go live in some other country, and their consensus is the United States fucking sucks. I'll never come back. I'm fine where I live now. It's way better. And so I'll share some of that with you guys, because I know people from all over the world, and I've met people from all over the world throughout my life. And there are good things about the United States, but overall, most of the people I know from other parts of the world are like, you fucking idiots in the United States think that you're the best place on earth, and you're not. And you're not even close. And it's not as great as you think it is, and other countries aren't as bad as you're led to believe because of the propaganda that we're subjected to at the hands of the people that own this place. They want you to believe that there's nowhere else to go and that this is the best place there is, and it's not. But I don't think any place on earth is the best place there is. I think no matter where you go, you're basically trading one set of crap for another. It's like a used car. I could trade in my Volkswagen, which has a bunch of problems, to get another vehicle that's got a bunch of problems, but they're different problems. I could trade my used Volkswagen in for a brand new GM and watch the engine fall apart 2,000 miles after I bought it and wish I still had the old Volkswagen. That's the world we live in. And so that's the point I'm making. I don't think there's any place that's the best. I just got done talking about how Texas sucks. There's some good things about Texas that are better than living in New York. And I can come up with a list of things about living in New York that kick the shit out of living in Texas. And I don't want to live in either state. I don't want to live here for the rest of my life. Maybe Texas will grow on me, but I'm not feeling like it will. But I don't know. Now that I've got a car, maybe if I can find a place to live farther away from Houston, maybe I can find a reason to be here. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll see. I'm keeping an open mind, but so far I'm not. I like the weather. I think there was, oh, somebody sent a link in the members only Discord server, Blue Sky. I think you sent it. You sent some stuff about the Texas cottage food laws changing or whatever. I intend to watch those videos. I might even watch one tonight now that I'm reminded of it. But I am interested in some of the videos that you put in the Discord server. And rest of you, 12 of you watching right now, if you want to be able to chat freely with the other members of the channel and have a nice little secret club where it, just like Las Vegas, whatever happens in the members only stream stays in the members only stream, and whatever happens on the members only chat server stays on the members only chat server. Go to the homepage of the YouTube channel, and where you subscribe, there's now a join button. You can hit that button and you can be an awesome channel member for a couple bucks a month. And you can also you can be a channel member for a couple bucks a month, or you can be a high roller, and I think it's like $5 a month if you want to be one of the high rollers. But yeah, I'll be on Discord more. There's a couple of things I need to figure out in terms of managing the users, but I'm pulled in so many directions right now. But after the exhausting car search over the couple of weeks or whatever, I reached level 6. Whatever the boss of level 5 was, I beat him. And now I'm on level 6, and it happened. I was able to get a car, and I was able to go through all the hassles. Now, I was able to go through all the hassles of getting the car road legal in less than 24 hours after handing over the cash for the car. And I had been saying all along that I wanted to go do it at a dealership so they could do all the paperwork. And I was trying to do that at first, but then I came to the conclusion that I was finding better deals from private sellers and the vehicles were in better condition. So not all the time. And I didn't look at that many in person, but I looked at tons of them online. I will shop like crazy. I bookmarked so many cars, I couldn't even keep track of them all. But by and large, the private seller vehicles were in better shape than the dealership vehicles, and I was able to get all of them were a better price. So I figure, well, suck it up and figure out how to do the paperwork yourself. And I figured out how to get it all done in 24 hours after I bought the car, and I bought the car on a Sunday. So it really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and now I know how to do it, and I know the ins and outs of how it works in Texas. And it was kind of a catalyst that helped me make the transition into fully flipping all of the switches, getting my address updated and correct with my new phone number and all the paperwork in order, because everything had been a mess up until like last week even. I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've had like 6 different addresses in the last year or two. And every account and every online service and everything that I logged into and everything everywhere had one of 5 different mailing addresses and one of 2 different phone numbers, sometimes 3 different phone numbers. And all the shit was crazy everywhere. None of it was in sync because I moved around so many times. And so as part of getting the car, I systematically went through every single account online, all the bank stuff, all the financial stuff, all the services that I tap into and subscribe to for my business, all of the things. And I went through my password manager and just looked at all the accounts that are in there and systematically went through every single account and made sure that the phone number was updated. So when they shut off my old phone, my friend still hasn't shut it off, but I told him to go ahead and do it because I can't think of anything that I haven't changed to the new phone number by now. But I went through and did systematically just boom, 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 made sure everything was showing my proper new address and the new phone number, which I don't even know if somebody asks me for my phone number right now, I have to look it up because I don't even know what it is. But the car and the paperwork and doing the paperwork myself was kind of a catalyst that forced me to kind of move everything along and get it all done. And it took a few weeks. It wasn't like a one and done. I would do a bunch of them, and then I would come back the next day and realize I got a bunch more. And then even when I thought I was done, it still took 3 more rounds of going through and finding things before I realized. And I probably still haven't finished changing everything over. But I've done more. It's more solid and more in place and more ironed out now than it's been since the day I came home from prison. So we're good. So there's that. And, my paperwork and all that stuff, and it's all done. And as far as I'm aware, I have the car, I have my own phone. I'm no longer dependent on anyone who is helping me. Now, people are still helping out in the form of donations and funding this YouTube channel, but I'm not depending on it. And I never really was dependent on that. But I'm going to tell you, sometimes you guys, your help, you drop a bone in the chicken bucket at donate.litgood.com or a super chat or whatever it is. Sometimes that has come at the timing of which you have no idea how ironic the timing was on some of those, and you saved my ass more than once. I can just list it out. Somebody dropped a big chunk of change in the chicken bucket right before I moved into this place, and I didn't spend it on what I wanted to spend it on, but it made the move smooth. It helped me out for over a month and a half to where I could be comfortable knowing that the bills were going to get paid and that anything I needed for the new place, boom, boom, boom. And it all just kind of fell into place anyway. And then that money fell out of the sky that helped me with the car and check off a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to do to make my home comfortable, pay a month's worth of bills and then some. And I got to take some time off of working hard for a few weeks. Just kind of put my work aside and spend a few weeks focusing on me for a few weeks. And so, like I said, I got the car, a workbench, shop stool, some curtains and curtain rods. I showed you, there's a house tour video. It'll be live for everybody tomorrow evening. Sometime after 6-ish, 7 o'clock, my Central Standard Time, I'll switch it to being live for everybody. Unless all 5 of the channel members tell me they've watched it, I could do it now. I could flip it live right now. But I took you on a tour yesterday after I felt like the place was clean and tidy enough to show what I've been up to. So anyway, I'm behind on thanking people for and all of that. I'm behind on everything. So I'm thanking you all right now, like out there, but I will reach out to people individually as time moves on. It's on my list. It's on my list. There's so many things on that list. That's why I got to keep praying, because Jesus has got to help me figure out how to cross off everything on the list, because I can't. But, house-wise, workbench, shop stool, curtains, curtain rods. I got an ironing board. Picked up a steam mop for $30 on Facebook Marketplace. Got a new vacuum cleaner. It's a beast. Love it. Pillows, sheets, a comforter. Got my TV set up nice. Little home theater set. Facebook Marketplace all the way on that one. Got the ghetto extension cords all figured. If you saw some of the earlier videos of the If you saw that I had some daisy chained power strips going all over the place to try and plug in a TV and stuff, that's all squared away and tidy and organized properly now. And I don't have a ghetto mess of extension cords and wires going all over the place. And I've got a lot more storage and organization options, and I've got plenty of space to keep things tidy now. So, I consider my home to be complete with phase 2 of the plan. I had a plan the day I moved in here to design out the space and what I was going to get and what I was going to put where. And other than a love seat and a footstool, I'm done. Anything from there is small. I want to get some shelves, and I want to hang some artwork on the walls, my own photography or whatever else. That's about it. So I can accomplish that over the next month or two. And then I can ride out the rest of the lease here, and I'm good to go. So what will level 7? If I'm on level 6 right now, what's level 7 going to be? Because right now I'm in the space where, like I said, the end of each level gets really difficult, and then the start of the next level is easier, or if that's how we're doing it. The end of the level is really difficult, and then you start the next level and it's easier. It's down here compared to what it was at the end of the previous level. The beginning of the next level usually starts out a lot easier. Now, the beginning of level 7 is harder than the end of level 3. But it's much easier than the end of the previous level, and I'm still in that like cruise control mode where I'm just kind of coasting along and chilling, waiting to see what's coming, because something's coming. There's always going to be something coming that I got to deal with that's going to suck. And so I just have a gut feeling that somehow level 7 will revolve around my working life. And I think things are going to change in regards to how I either make money, get more organized around freelance work, part-time or full-time job, or something of that nature. Something's going to happen to where I can make more money and be better organized financially. And I'm not sure if that's accurate. I won't know. I mean, I'm just, like I said, I'm in cruise control right now. And, but I've heard a lot of people over, talk about the video game aspect of, the next level starts out easier than the end of the previous level you finished. And then at some point it becomes more difficult than the level you just finished. And that's a typical pattern that game designers use when they design video games. And I've heard a lot of people throughout my life comparing life to being a game over the years. And I think it makes sense. It's more like one of those video games where if your character dies, you lose everything and you have to start all over from the beginning, instead of one of those games where you can just respawn every time you get killed. But it's very similar in the sense that you can gain and lose everything in the blink of an eye. And just because you lost it or you fell down doesn't mean you can't come back. And the only way you can't come back is if you just stop playing the game. I don't know if anybody ever played Friday the 13th, the game on Nintendo, that old NES Nintendo when we were kids. You couldn't beat Jason. You couldn't. And after like a couple of weeks of trying to beat that, you're just like, all right, fuck it, done. You can't beat Jason if you never play the game again. I finally got to where I could beat Jason. Maybe once. But you had to beat him like 3 times to win the game or something like that. And I could beat him like once. And that was it. And I think that was a game where once Jason kills you, you're done. It's over. You're dead. You only get one life, like real life. And if Jason gets you, you're done. And Jason's impossible to kill, just like the movies. But the only way that you can't beat him is if you just stop playing the game. And I don't know. I really don't know too many people who ever beat Jason. You'd have easier time beating Mike Tyson in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out than beating Jason. JS, you chimed in at the same. Great minds think alike. Couldn't beat Mike Tyson. I never beat Mike Tyson in the Punch-Out game. I never beat him. I know people who did. I watched people beat him. I never did. But, you know, other ideas about level 7 aside from leveling up with income or things like a career or whatever. You know, maybe it could be in the form of help with my criminal record, in the form of an early release from probation, or maybe a pardon from Donald Trump. But I have serious doubts as to whether I can get any of that. And I've talked about why the Republicans are going after. The Republicans are trying to destroy anybody's life who says something bad about Charlie Kirk. So they're not going to give me a pass, because then that's going to make them look two-faced. So I don't think I'm getting any kind of love or any kind of support from any of that, or no early release or nothing. But I won't get any of it if I don't try to get it. It's just like the video game. Like I mentioned, the only way that it's impossible to win the game is to not play the game, and I really haven't played the game there. So maybe I got to do something to get something. Try. But I just haven't had time. I haven't made time for it. There is a third phase of putting my home together, and that might happen in tandem with level 7. Who knows? Like I said, I want to get a love seat, an ottoman, and some additional shelving maybe, and just storage options. And I want this place to be modular to the point where when it's time to move, I can just pack and go and get out of here really fast. So I'm trying not to be a hoarder, getting the things that I want and need, but trying to be organized to the point where when it's time to move, grab the boxes and go. And it's not like I'm having to, there's a few pieces of furniture. I can get a friend to come over and help with that. But now I've got a car with a huge trunk and a back seat that folds down. All the bric-a-brac and boxes I could take to a new place if I find one in like a day or two myself, completely on my own, and leave the things here that I can't carry by myself. Call up a friend and be like, hey, you want to come over and help me for 10 minutes? Boom, it's over. Move like 4 things into a moving van, drive it to the new place, unload it, we're done. So I'm trying to keep things modular and easy to pack down and move. And with the car, I can do almost all of it on my own, and there really won't be a lot that I have to, I may not need help with any of it, to be honest. I know I can move pretty much everything in here on my own. I don't think there's anything that's too heavy for me to lift or move on my own if I came down to that. But it would certainly be more enticing to ask a friend for help if the place is generally empty, except for like 4 or 5 pieces of furniture, and I say, hey, can you come help me move these 4 or 5, and show them a picture and be like, this is all that's here. It's not going to be like moving boxes and a bunch of crap. Maybe I can get some help with the, half hour to an hour, in and out, done. So anyway, maybe that's part of level 7. I don't know. Level 7 could be my kids, being able to be a better father and be more available to my kids, be able to go visit them and have that part of my life improve. And I think that also goes hand in hand with fixing problems I have with a significant drop in income from making more than 6 figures a year to barely making minimum wage. So, level 7 could include getting out in nature more, camping, hiking, or frisbee golf, or, things for the outdoors, and just enjoying going outside. Fitness and health could be part of leveling up. I don't know. Or joining a gym and getting overall fitness done instead of just bicycle fitness, which is different. My legs, if the rest of my body looked like my legs right now, I would be able to win a bodybuilding competition because my legs are freaking crazy, but I got this beer belly to go with it. They don't match. I'm the most mismatched guy you would ever see. Like my legs look like the Mr. Universe or whatever you call it. I'm not going to show you right now, but my legs are like on point. But my belly I got a dad bod from here up and from here down. I look like a rock. I look like I'm in very good shape from the waist down. I don't know, eating healthier, cooking more, things like that, health, fitness, whatever. There's a velodrome, a bicycle racing track here in Houston. Maybe I could get into track cycling and get competitive again at some point. I don't know. I'm interested in a commuter bike, an e-bike. I've bookmarked a bunch, but I don't have a place to store extra bicycles right now. So I don't even think that might be level 10. That might be like having a place that's big enough to have a stable of bicycles and having a track bike and an e-bike and a mountain bike and my 2 road bikes. There's a bike for every occasion. Someday I have a mountain bike. It's in Pittsburgh. I would just have to go get it. Really nice. Forget what it is. Specialized something or other. Nice one. Real nice bike. I don't know. Another level up option is finding a place to live that has enough space for me and my son to live, and for my son to come visit me for an extended period of time whenever he wants. But it just seems like every time you level up, life will start to present a series of problems that appear, and then they become more and more stressful as I approach the level boss, and I got to beat some sort of boss, and then I can move up to the next level. So, I knew that level 6 would be around the car and the home upgrades. I didn't know when it would happen, but it just felt like that's what I was waiting for. But these are just ideas of what might be in store for level 7. As life becomes to get stressful again, I think it will give me a clear picture of what the next level has, what I get, what perks, what I get. When you level up in Assassin's Creed, you get to go to the armor shop and you get to buy new armor, you get a better sword, you get to buy more ships, you get to buy some fancy clothes and cosmetic stuff that has nothing to do with the game, et cetera, and you just keep, every time you level up, you get prizes. And then those prizes, a lot of them help you. Jared's saying that at 3 a.m. you beat Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Yeah, that's about how it was with me and my friends. I remember a sleepover at a friend's house where there were like 20 of us, and we weren't sleeping. My friend lived on a horse farm, and he had a giant barn that we used to play football in. It was an arena. It was huge. It was like the length of a football field, and like you could play 12-on-12 football in that arena, and we did. We played dirt soccer, football. We played this weird dirt basketball game because it was a dirt floor. We had all kinds of games and rules, I was at his house when somebody beat Mike Tyson's Punch Out, but we were all taking turns playing. It was probably 3 a.m, and his dad was just as pissed as your dad was because we were all screaming and yelling, making all. Yeah, we were not quiet at all. Oh, memories. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's the money, the career and income seems to be my gut feeling, because the more money you make, the more money you can just throw at problems to make them go away. A lot of the way you solve a problem is either you got to throw your time at it or your money at it, or your time and your money. And that's how you make your problems go away. One or the other or both. And sometimes having the money to throw at the problem means you don't have to spend as much time on it, and vice versa, or whatever. Some problems don't go away without your time, no matter how much money you have, etc. But maybe this YouTube channel and getting invited to this boot camp and all of that stuff, maybe that's part of level 7. I've been stuck at 0 subscriber growth for like 15 months now, while other people that reached 1,000 subscribers at the same time I did, they're at like 30 to 50,000 subscribers now on their channels, and I'm stuck at 0 new growth for 15 straight months. And we know why. We know. Let's see. He talked about COVID was a scam tonight. He called people retards. He said the F-bomb a few times, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Cut him off. Don't let him. No growth for you. So we know. I know. It's not like it's not like rocket science. I don't understand why YouTube invited me to be part of this elite program when they're shadow banning me and don't want me to grow. So I don't get it. But whatever. I'm just rolling with it. Maybe YouTube will get unstuck, and that's part of leveling up. I don't know. Maybe preparedness is part of the next level. I went from being prepared when I was arrested by the FBI. Obviously, I wasn't prepared enough to go to blows with them. But I was prepared enough at that time. I could weather a storm for up to a year. We would have had food for a year. Now I can't even last a week. If the shit hit the fan today, I got about a week, and then it's over. Ain't got no more food. Probably got some stuff to trade and barter with and whatnot. I won't even have a roof over my head. I'll be back to living in a backpack and homeless, and I'll probably have to rob and steal and who knows what to eat. Kill animals, eat somehow. I'll have to kill animals with what? I don't eat. I'll have to make traps, and I'll probably be eating squirrels and mice and who knows what. So hopefully the end times can hold off for a few more months. Maybe I can get some more food saved up. I don't know. That would be nice if I don't have to worry about that crap in the next couple of weeks. But preparedness overall. I don't even got room to put food in this place. Like, I got to figure out, like, what creative way can I store a decent amount of food in a tiny little space and have something for when, there's no more food and there's no more grocery store. And, we all saw what happened at the grocery stores the first week of the COVID scam. My daughter couldn't get toilet paper for a month. I don't know what she did. I tried to help her. I couldn't find toilet paper. I had some. I took some to her at some point, but for a couple of days, we didn't cross paths. And the night that all the stores ran out of toilet paper, I tried because me and my son went to like 20 different grocery stores, mostly because I was taking my son on a field trip to see so that he would remember that. And we were just having fun with it because we were already prepared. We were just bouncing around to different stores so that he could see with his own eyes what the fuck was going on and how crazy it was. We would buy a couple of little things at each store, go through the self-checkout line, run back out to the car, go to the next store. But we were looking for toilet paper for my daughter. We couldn't find it. Found one gas station that had one roll of toilet paper. They wanted like $20 for the roll of toilet paper. I'm like, no, she'll have to get a bidet. she'll have to wet a washcloth or something. She's gonna have to do something. Rip up an old t-shirt. I don't know what you're gonna do, but you ain't getting toilet paper tonight. We got a year's supply of toilet paper at the house, but I'm not going all the way back to the house and all the way back to Pittsburgh and then all the way back to the house just to bring you a couple of rolls. So I did what I could. I couldn't find one. We went to like 20 different grocery stores. We couldn't do it. So when that happens with food, we're fucked. We're fucked. I'm just hoping that I got some food put away before that happens. I don't know. Leveling up could be finding a piece of land or something where I can start to build some sort of self-sufficient life. One positive thing about Texas is one of the states where there are opportunities to find owner finance land and even homes. In a situation where a bank is never going to give me the time of day because I'm a worthless piece of shit with no credit anymore, it is possible for me to get into a situation where I could become a land renter from the government instead of renting it from a landlord. But the only way you're ever going to become a homeowner, like we were talking about earlier, is if you don't have to pay somebody to keep your home anymore, which means, abolishing the property tax. But yeah, we'll see. I'm not, Donald Trump ain't going to do that. Yeah, minimum 1 month of 1 week of food and water. For water, I'm good. Water, I got it. I got water filters. I got extra water filters. 5, 10, 15, I could 20,000 gallons of water before I need a new water filter at this point. Water, I'm good. Water is covered. There's a creek down the road. If it came down to it, a couple of 5-gallon buckets and a 2-mile walk, or drive, or whatever it has to be to go get water, I can get water. So water's covered as food. I need a month's supply of food. I don't know if that's Top Ramen to start off with, or I don't know what it's going to be. Mac and cheese, Top Ramen. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully I can do better than that. But you saw that I can take a bag of Top Ramen and turn it into something tasty based on my experience in prison. You learn how to do those things, but it's not how I want to be eating when the shit goes down. But Texas has areas with no zoning laws, for example, where you can build whatever you want. You may have to pay outrageous property tax, but you can build what you want on your property with nobody being up your ass about it. I live in one of those properties. Right here where I'm sitting right now is one of those properties. This whole road that I live on, it's the Wild West on the side of the road that I live on. On the other side of the road, it looks like all housing developments and HOA crap. But on this side of the road, it's whatever goes. You see everything from like giant homes and castles to properties like mine that are just a bunch of trailer trash homes all scattered around a lot. And you see a few pieces of land on this street where people have outright camps. Like they bring their RV and camp on their property, and that's all it is. And they just come and camp, and it's woodsy, and it's their Houston campground. So this road is zoning law free on the side of the road that I live on. There's land available at the end of this road, but I'm guarantee you it's like $2-3 million because I'm a half-hour drive from downtown Houston without traffic, about 25 miles from the center of the city. So you don't even have to drive far away to get into some fairly remote land. I wouldn't even call this remote, but there's patches around me where it's woods and nothing else. It's weird. But you don't have to go. I would not have to go much farther out to find land with no neighbors and all woods. In fact, I keep bookmarking owner finance land for sale. And there's one 3-acre property, I think it's 3 acres, up in one of the national forests here, where the back property line is public land. Thousands of acres of public land with your 3 acres bordering it. And for like $6,000 down payment, I could go and buy it and rent to own from the property owner. And, you'll work up some land contract. You make payments for 10 years and it's yours. So I could buy a piece of land before I even get out of renting it, like rent a place to live and buy a piece of land somewhere and start building that up while I'm living here, maybe. I don't know. And then maybe find a a trailer, something to go put on that property. The property might have a well already. It might have electric. I don't know. I'm kind of like this one I have bookmarked. I could have actually gone and put a down payment on it right after I bought the car. But I'm like, nah, because you're still going to have to make monthly payments on that land. And it's, it's out of my budget right now. But if I can make more money, I think the first thing I might do is go buy a piece of land and make it like a bug out camp. And it's in my area that I'm allowed to travel in for probation. So I wouldn't even be breaking the law to go to my camp. It's in the area. Now I have the whole eastern side of Texas, all down the coast of Texas, down from, was it Louisiana to Mexico, and about 3 to 4 counties away from the coast. That's my area I'm allowed to roam without having to tell anybody where I am. And this property is in that. It's actually like it would be a half-hour drive from where I'm sitting right now to where that land. I could go look at it tomorrow if I wanted to. I feel like I need to before I go and do a move like that, I need to make sure the income level is probably double where I'm at right now, which, 0 times 2 is still 0, but I'm making a little bit more than that, but double where I'm at right now wouldn't even be that much. I don't even know if I'd be making the national average if I doubled my income, but I could do something like that, get a piece of land, put something on it, figure out how to go off grid or on the grid or kind of the grid or whatever, rent a place while I'm building up a new place. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities. But yeah, preparedness is something I'll be working on because preparedness is a project you're never going to be finished with. There's always going to be something that needs improved or shored up. But it could be part of leveling up. It might even be like level 8 could be I don't know. I'm working on figuring out what level 7 is. And so with that, I think I got one more thing to say, and it's quick. I haven't seen any trolls show up tonight or for a few weeks. But I did ban another troll this week from the channel because whoever this is left just one too many obnoxious douchebag asshole comments. And I finally was like, you know what? Get out of here. He showed up in various live streams and etc. And I'm pretty sure that I think there's, okay, so I've looked yesterday just as I was preparing some things to say. I think it's a guy. I think all of the trolls that have ever been on my channel are all one person. And I believe it has to be a guy because even an ugly girl has a lot more shit to do in her life. Like, she's going to have guys chasing after her and things going on and things to do and a life full of activity to the point where taking the time to be a YouTube douchebag is not something on a girl's radar. And I've looked and I've banned 17 trolls so far. I checked the number yesterday, and I'm 99.9% sure that every single one of those 17 trolls are one and the same person. Because when your audience, one benefit of having a small audience that never grows, because YouTube has me on shadow ban, is that you can recognize patterns and they're easy to see. Because if 3 different trolls show up with the same speech patterns and the same type of behavior, you can tell that it's the same person over and over again. So basically, some fucking loser has nothing better to do than create a new Google account with an associated YouTube account just to show up and be a douchebag once or twice and get kicked off my channel for good. And this fucking retard's done it 17 times. 17 times. And I'm over it. At first when I started the channel, I would let the trolls just do their thing and pay them no mind and let them say whatever they want to say and just ignore it. Fuck it. But now I'm just done with it. Because you know why? It's my house. My channel is my house. And if you're going to show up to my house and act like a dick to everybody, game over. You're gone. I wouldn't let you do it if I was having a house party and you were all physically at my house. I would have to escort you to the end of the driveway and say, peace out, don't come back. And you're gone. If you don't like it, anybody wants to call my integrity into question because I said I wouldn't do it, because I'm going against what I said I wouldn't do, and now I'm doing it and kicking trolls off the channel, I have to say as well, fuck you. If you've been watching the channel for long enough, it doesn't take long to figure out I have zero fucks to give about what anybody thinks about me. I never really did before I was arrested. But after going to prison for 2 years for social media posts and being shunned from ever having an actual job again and being homeless and everything I've been through since, any fucks that I might have had laying around somewhere, they're gone. That shit, I don't even know where they are. If I had any, I don't even know where they'd be at this point. So I'm not buying anymore. So when they're gone, they're gone. And my fucks ran out years ago. I checked my pockets. I looked through my bags. I just cleaned my house. I was going through boxes and sorting things out in boxes I haven't looked at in months. There were no fucks to give anywhere. They're gone. And I'm not buying. I'm not going to order them on Amazon. I'm not going to go to the grocery store and get any. They're gone. It's over. It's like, I'm looking at it like remember Darth Vader when he was in Cloud City and Lando Calrissian was like, this deal keeps getting worse all the time. And Darth Vader looked at him and said, look, I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. Darth Vader had no fucks to give. He does what he wants. And that's what I do. So live your life. And so, yeah, I'm going to let the trolls just get rid of them. Because it's a waste of my time to get a notification that I have a comment. And then I get there and I'm like, oh, that dickhead. All right, you're out of here. I mean, I'll give people a few chances. I'm not, one bad comment's not enough to get you booted. But if you're just here to be a dick, you're going to have to make 17 more YouTube accounts and Google accounts and go through the hassle of doing that when all I have to do is hit a button and say, you're gone. See ya. That's it. Like, it's very easy for me to kick you off the channel. It takes a lot more effort on your part to create a new account just to come back and be a dick for like 2 comments. So, I don't know. We'll see if he makes profile number 18 and comes back. But I have a feeling for somebody to go through that much trouble, is that just a random person on the internet who just does it for fun? Or is that somebody that knows me in real life personally? I feel like it's that. I don't know who it is. It has to be a guy. Because like I said, if you're a girl, you're out getting laid and you got guys taking you out on dates and chasing after you. And even if you're an ugly girl who weighs 400 pounds, you got a buffet of cock to choose from. So you got a whole life to live and have fun things to do, even if you're the ugliest girl on earth. So only a guy could be that much of a loser that you got nothing better to do than make 17 YouTube accounts so that you can harass and troll a guy who's got 12 people watching on a live stream and 1,200 followers on his channel. Like, I don't get it. No, it wouldn't be my ex. She's probably out, this and that, and who knows what. I don't give a fuck. That's in the past. And she's not that technically inclined. She's not an IT professional. Let's put it that way. Like to be able to make 17 YouTube accounts to troll my channel, I think would be a stretch. That would be a little bit out of the wheelhouse for that one. I'm just, that's all I'm gonna say. But no, it has to be a dude. There's no way a girl has that much free time in her life to make 17 fucking YouTube accounts to go troll somebody. That's just not the way it works. I just think it's funny. Because, I'm not losing sleep over it. I'm just, like, I'll look at it, I'm like, oh, fuck that asshole, bye. Like, that's about it. And I'm back to doing what I'm doing. I'm watching the Game of Thrones prequel series, The House of the Dragon. I've got a source on Plex. Just going to leave it at that. I can watch lots of things that don't cost money to watch. And I'm in that Project Star Wars that I was talking about, where I'm watching the entire Star Wars universe in chronological order as it is chronologically in the Star Wars universe. Right now, I am at the year 20 BBY, which is 20 years before the Battle of Yavin, when Luke Skywalker blew up the Death Star. The whole Star Wars universe is based on that date. Kind of like how our timeline is based on the birth of Jesus Christ. It's either AD, Anno Domini, or before Christ, where they say, no, it's before Common Era. But no, it's before. BC means before Christ. The year 0 is when Jesus was born. Luke Skywalker blowing up the Death Star is the Jesus moment of Star Wars. Everything happened either before or after that. So I'm still on the Clone Wars. And I've still got, that's a long haul to get through the Clone War all the way up to, I can only sit and watch a few Clone Wars episodes at a time. I am still several episodes away from Revenge of the Sith. And then even after Revenge of the Sith, there's a couple of Clone Wars episodes. And then it starts out with the Bad Batch series, which is also about the clones, but it takes place after after Order 66 and Darth Vader becoming Darth Vader. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens after that. The Bad Batch. You've got the Obi-Wan Kenobi. You've got the Han Solo movie. You got the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. You've got Andor. And then Andor kind of is parallel with the series Star Wars Rebels. They go back and forth. So there's episodes of Andor and then episodes of Star Wars Rebels that go back and forth. And then after that, of course, right after is the Rogue One movie. And then there's A New Hope. You're at 0 BBY right there. And then there are what happens after that? You've got The Mandalorian happens after Return of the Jedi. And then you've got the Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian, which are basically like one series. And then you've got Ahsoka, which if you didn't watch the Clone Wars, you'd have no idea who she is because she's not in any of the movies, but she's a main character of Star Wars. The Acolyte, I watched it a second time, but the second time they put the episodes in chronological order, which is different than the order that they're in for the series. And it was better the second time around. And you just got to get past people. It's not great. It's not as bad as it was the first time I watched it when I watched it the second time. I don't know why it's not great. It's like Babylon 5 meets Star Wars in terms of the acting quality. The acting sucks. That's the worst part about it. It's not the woke bullshit, the woke Hollywood bullshit. all the Star Wars stuff that's come out since Disney took over is full of woke, dumbass, woke Hollywood, blue hair, retard, liberal stuff. So the Acolytes got it too. It's just the acting in the Acolytes sucks. The Skeleton Crew show comes after Ahsoka. That was all right. Me and my best friend were calling it Space Goonies because it's straight up it's like a Star Wars remake of the Goonies, straight up. Like, you can't watch I wasn't the first person I came up with that analogy on my own, and so did my friend. And then I looked up Skeleton Crew Goonies. People all over the internet were saying the same thing, that it was a straight up ripoff of the Goonies meets Star Wars. But it's actually not horrible. Then there's this show called Star Wars Resistance. I give that one a thumbs down. It's not that good. But it takes place between it's a lead up to the events of The Force Awakens. But then The Force Awakens, there's some Star Wars Resistance episodes between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. And then between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, there's some more of that show. I have a friend at the bakery who went to Seattle to go on a Goonies tour of the city. Like, they booked this thing where they got to go around on a tour bus or some shit and go to every single thing that was in the Goonies movie, like the Truffle Shuffle House and all of it. Like, she said it was crazy. She's a huge Goonies fan, and they went on a whole tour of Seattle with everything. I'm like, did you get to go on the pirate water slide inside the cave? And I'm like, no, that wasn't real. But all the stuff that was real in the movie, they got to see in real life. They're making Star Wars Starfighter, which will bring back Rey the God. Yeah, I've heard about that. That'll be before that in the timeline. That's way before the Acolyte. So that could be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do because I think some of the people involved with Star Wars make really good stuff and the other ones don't. And it's kind of a mixed bag. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, there are 420 things in the Star Wars universe. And I'm not watching the cartoons, the 2D animated cartoons, the ones that are for like Grogu, the cutest in the galaxy and that crap. I'm not watching that crap. Like, I took out certain things from the list that I don't like. No, I got time for that. There's 420 things on this list. And I started watching this back in like June. I'm on 86 of the 420. And granted, some of these things some of the Clone Wars episodes are 20 minutes apiece. So, though you can watch 3 of those in an hour. I'm on number 86 of 420 things. So I think Rogue One was good. Did you see Andor? Andor is freaking awesome. Andor is like, they got Academy Awards and crap for that show because it's so well done. It's way above and beyond. The Mandalorian I liked, but the episodes were too short. So you'd have to wait until like a whole season came out and then just bang through it like it was a movie. Because if you're only watching it once a week, you're getting like 20 minutes and it's bang and it's over. It's like when a guy finishes too fast. You know what I mean? It's like, well, that's it. 20 minutes. Bang, 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 and I'm out of here. That's what it was like watching The Mandalorian. It was like, come on, man, we got to get at least 40 minutes before you finish. So, yeah, The Mandalorian, the episodes are too short, but I think that if you could just hold off until the end of a season and watch the whole thing, it was good. They kept the child actors away from the ship set. So, the Goonies, okay, away from the ship so that they got the genuine looks of amazement when that scene happens. Yeah, that would have been cool. Yeah, you definitely notice that. No, the Goonies is a classic. I made my son watch that when he was younger. I mean, we would sit down and you're like, okay, you're gonna watch this. You're not gonna be 18 years old and not have seen the Goonies and not. I mean, he's seen Monty Python, the Holy Grail, the other ones, the staples, other classic movies. He's seen them all. Back to the Future, all of that stuff. He knows. He didn't get. There's a lot of kids these days that they don't know anything. They don't know what they're and the movies nowadays suck compared to the movies that were made back in the 80s. Yeah, the special effects were crap, but these movies hold up because they're just so good. A lot of movies like that. The only way I would even go watch a movie right now at a theater is if another Star Wars comes out, because I'll go watch it on the IMAX screen with the goggles and the whole, the 3D goggles and the whole. That's just, I'm going for this, for the spectacle of it all. I saw Rogue One twice. I took my son, and then 2 days later, I went on Monday by myself. And because it was Monday evening, I was the only person in the whole theater with the 3D IMAX goggles. But the 3D wasn't as good on Rogue One because they filmed it with the lenses that they filmed the original Star Wars movie in, the same focal lengths and the same camera types, even though it was digital. They tried to make it blend in with A New Hope. So they took the 3D effect wasn't as strong. The Force Awakens in 3D was crazy at the IMAX theater. When they show this one scene of the Star Destroyer, it was like right in front of my face. You could reach out and grab it. It was so crazy with Kylo Ren's Star Destroyer in a couple of the scenes. It was like, whoa, because it's IMAX and it's high resolution and the thing's floating right in front of your face. And they really took the 3D all the way on those three. That's why when I saw The Last Jedi, I thought it was good. But it's because we saw it on IMAX in the 3D, and it was on Christmas Day. Me and my son went. We were like the only ones in the theater because it was Christmas Day. We couldn't even eat. We couldn't even find a place to go eat because nothing was open. So we ate gas station food and went to the theater and got some popcorn, and we were the only ones in the whole theater to see that movie with the 3D goggles and everything. And then we come home. I'm like, man, that was awesome. And then I was like, I don't know. And then I got on Kodi and I saw a bootleg of it and I watched the movie again that night. And I'm like, I think this movie kind of sucks because now it's not in IMAX and it's not all 3D anymore. And you're not all just taken up with the IMAX 3D part of it. And you're actually watching the movie. And I'm like, I think this movie sucks. And every time I watch that movie since, it sucks even more than the last time it sucked. Every time I watch it, it gets worse and worse and worse. And the same thing with The Rise of Skywalker was terrible. Even at the theater, I swear my 12-year-old son, 10-year-old, however, or whatever age he was when they're somehow Palpatine returned, you're like, the fuck? What the fuck is that? That's the dumbest plot. So somehow Palpatine's back. Well, how? Well, no, he's back somehow. And that whole movie was terrible. Terrible. I couldn't even I was like, wow, this is the biggest shit show I've ever seen. But I also think Disney wanted to ruin Star Wars on purpose because Disney doesn't exist to make money anymore. Disney is just a propaganda arm of the New World Order. They don't give a shit how much money Disney makes or loses. They've got so many sources of income that they could bomb. They could ruin Star Wars after spending $4 billion on it, and it's a drop in the bucket of the money that they're bringing in that year from 9,000 other sources of income that they have. So to take a cult, to take a movie like Star Wars, which is A New Hope, a movie about defeating the evil empire with a small band of rebels and bringing freedom to the galaxy. Well, that's not a message that the New World Order wants you to have. So, now they want you to believe that you can throw the Emperor down a fucking well and then blow up the Death Star and somehow he returns. Well, somehow, we don't know. He's back, though. You can't destroy the Empire. You can't destroy the Emperor. That's the message they wanted you to have after watching them butcher Star Wars. But a few people got in there. The Disney Star Wars, some people who actually like and respect Star Wars got in there and they made stuff like Andor and The Mandalorian and Boba Fett and all these other little shows and stuff. But the machine, they wanted to ruin it on purpose. They're ruining other things. They're ruining Marvel now that Stan Lee's dead and he got no say in it. They're just like, let's make this woke and bullshit and let's just take what was good and make it trash and ruin it. Get rid of everybody's hope. The Empire always wins. The evil always wins. No matter how many good guys there are, evil always wins. That's the message they want you to take away from it now, because that's their propaganda. That's their propaganda. It's just like Joseph Stalin had propaganda machine in Russia. They call it Disney and they call it Warner Brothers and they call it different things here in America, but it's the same exact shit. So, making bad movies becomes profitable. It's the same thing that I used to work for the sister of the current CEO of Amazon. And this fucking bitch, she's gone in and destroyed one company after the next, after the next, after the next, and after the next. In fact, every time she gets involved with a company, it goes downhill and dies. And they just give her, here's $50 million again. Go do it again. Oh, you fucking blew, you lost all our money. Here's another 50 million. Go do it again. Go do it again. Go do it again. Then they just keep letting her do it over and over again. And there's two reasons for it. Because the people at the top, they got what's called a golden parachute. So these people make money whether the company is a success or a failure. She makes money. She gets $50 million of other people's money to start a company, run it into the ground. But the whole time she ran it into the ground, she was paying herself a salary, probably paying herself $500,000 a year in salary alone. And then the company goes bankrupt and she walks away with a pile of money, gets to do it all over again. Number two, like I said, she's the sister of the CEO of Amazon. So people are just going to throw her $20 million, $50 million, $100 million, whatever the fuck they can do, because they want access to her brother. You're one ear away. You can say something to her that she can say to her brother because she's got his personal cell phone number. She can send a text to her brother, the CEO of Amazon. Hey, so-and-so wants to talk to you. Boom. That's what they're paying for with her. And you got people like shit, that's a whole nother topic for the channel. But how many times are like we've been talking about Jo-Ann Fabrics and different companies where these investment companies buy them, the venture capitalists, and then they gut the company. They put the company in debt to the lender, and the lender makes all kinds of money while they're simultaneously gutting and destroying the properties that they just bought. And then they leave the place desolate and out of business, but they walked away with a ton of money. in the process. Or Eddie Lampert when he bought Sears and Kmart. He bought that shit specifically to dismantle it and sell it piecemeal and make more money than he spent on it and walk away from it and leave it in the dust. Because Sears had the brand names Craftsman, what was the Kenmore, all these different brand names that were associated with the Sears monstrosity. He sold all of that property. Craftsman, he sold it to Lowe's. Lowe's owns the Craftsman brand now, and they, it's all just Chinaman. It's not Craftsman anymore. It's Chinaman. Ching Chong Chinaman, Craftsman. It's not Craftsman anymore. But Kenmore. What are some of the other brand names that Sears owned? He sold them all. He got rid of all of that, unloaded it, sold all the assets, and just left that company in the dirt and walked away with a pile of money. It was kind of like the same thing I used to do when I was buying and selling bicycles. Every now and then, I would buy a bicycle that was worth something. I bought an old Schwinn for $15 at a thrift store. I could have sold the bike for a couple $100. Instead, I took it apart and I sold all the parts. I sold the seat. The seat alone I got $75 for. Paid $15 for the bike, sold the seat for $75. And that's just one part. I stripped the bike down and sold all the parts. The derailleurs, the brakes, the frame and fork. I sold it all piecemeal. And I made probably $400 or $500 selling that bike in pieces by destroying it and taking it apart and selling it off, where I could have got $100 to keep, or a couple $100 to keep the bike as a solid bike, and just sold the bike. And I still, but greed, corporate greed got, I'm doing the same thing that the guy, except I'm not rich enough to buy Sears and take it apart and sell all the parts on the market and then walk away with a pile of money and leave the junk in the dustbin of history. I did the bicycle version of that. I took a $15 bicycle that I could have flipped for $200, but instead I ripped it apart and sold all the parts and got like $500. So that's what they do with companies. That's what these rich douchebags do with companies. That's a thing for another day. I'm see we got 12 people still in the house, so that's really awesome. I'm hungry. I'm gonna go grab a bite. And thank you all for showing up tonight. We went an hour and a half over the time that was allotted, but that's typical. And you gave me good stuff to talk about with your comments and whatnot. If you're not a member of the channel, what you waiting for? $2 a month. You'll get something worthwhile for your $2. It's cheaper than how many ramen noodle packs could you buy for $2? So anyway, I'm going to throw that out there. That's the only plug for the night. And the members only stream is already scheduled on the YouTube channel right now. That'll be next Tuesday. In the same time, 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, just like tonight, but Tuesday instead of Sunday, because I'm too busy on Sunday. I won't be able to do it. So I'm going to still give you what you got coming to you. And thanks for showing up. Thanks for being members. Thanks for all the other stuff and the help and all of it. The video that I posted yesterday of the house tour will go live for everybody tomorrow in the evening. So if you're a member and you want to watch, it's 20 minutes. But if you want to watch it without ads, get on it. Tomorrow I'll turn on the ads and then I'll make it to the public. So who knows? There might be 4 or 5 ads in the mix. I don't know how many. I let YouTube just put them in. I don't control where the ads show up. I could, but I just, time. I got other things I got to do. So we'll leave you with that. I don't know. I don't have a saying or a special thing to say when it's time to say goodbye. and we're a minute away from 3.5 hours exactly. So smoke them while you got them. If you got any last words, now's the time. The stream's gonna. I'll stop the stream right at 3.5 hours. Just seems like the right thing to do. Don't have, I don't know, no other announcements, no other, I don't know, plugs. Shop.litgood.com. If you want to look at photography, if you want to support the channel that way, that's cool. What other plugs? I don't know. Yeah, the plugs. I'll throw the Amazon link in the chat. We got like 20 seconds. If you click on that link and you go to Amazon and then you buy something on Amazon. Now, Jared, you said you bought something on Amazon after clicking the link, but I don't see any conversions. So maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. I don't know. But if you click on that link and then you buy something, I should get a cut back. Maybe I have to send a link to a specific product for it to work. I don't know. But it's supposed to work even if I send you to the Amazon homepage. But if you want to support the channel and you're broke, but you got money for Amazon, I get it. I'm broke too. So that's a way to do. That's a way to do it. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're already going to go there and do something, you can bookmark that link, click on it before you go. Boom. You support the channel. But with that, I'm going to get out of here and hope y'all have a good one. Peace out.